Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Iron Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Had Poison Creation Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. He grinds the dried flakes of wisteria with the mortar and pestle, keeping an ear on the slow drip, drip, drip of the concentrated poison falling into the beaker beside him. Izuku drops the pestle, adjusts his glasses back on his nose to hover over the beaker boiling on the Bunsen burner. The familiar fumes are bittersweet, in both physical sense and emotionally. His classmates know not to bother him as he works, no matter how curious they are. He likes to think himself as a more open person now, but he simply refuses to indulge them on his habit of making wisteria poison. They've bugged him relentlessly at the very start of the year, but they had eventually given up when all they would receive in reply was a small shake of his head and a sweet, ever-present smile. Yes, demons do not exist anymore, but old habits die hard. As often as the scent of wisteria brings back unwelcome memories, he still misses it all the same. It's a guilty comfort of his. Hatsum peers over his shoulder, a hand tinkering with her own project without looking at it. Again Midoriya? Of course, he replies, returning back to grinding the dried flowers. Can I expiry dash? Izuku cuts her off with a sweet smile. No. Unfazed, she returns to her station. Hatsum knew his answer before she got it. Izuku switches the flame on the Bunsen burner to yellow, bringing it to a lower boil. He leaves it to be, walking to the closed-off chemistry lab that's more of a glorified, ventilated box that was only recently constructed on Izuku's request. It's more or less his second workstation. A small PC sits in the corner, displaying the support lab. It's there so nothing of his burns or explodes on his table while he's working in the chemistry lab, but it had been newly revamped by a classmate of his to show the security footage of the entirety of UA unnecessary, considering that it's mainly Izuku utilizing this space, but he admits it's entertaining at times. He keeps an eye on Class 1A entering the USJ as he shuffles through his drawers for his supply of wisteria poison. There's a lot of things in his lab that he would definitely be questioned on if anyone were to snoop around, but luckily his classmates and teacher know to keep their noses out of his business. It's something he's very glad of course. Izuku is trying to live somewhat of a normal life this time around, a reason why he chose the support course instead of the hero route. This way, he'll be doing something he's passionate about while helping others without putting his neck on the chopping board. Maybe it's selfish of him, wasting his talents and skills. Izuku's kept up with his health as he would while he was a Hashira, and in no way is he rusty with a blade. He couldn't forget how to swing a katana even if he wanted to. Even with the years that have passed, his memories have been engraved down to his body and blood. Izuku would be a successful hero, he could save a lot of lives as one, but he thinks he's allowed to be a little selfish in his second life. The gods have given him a second chance, and in no way is he going to waste it. Kane and Kaneo would never forgive him if he were to. He smiles sadly to himself as he watches the reincarnation of Tomioka isolate himself from his classmates. Todoroki, his name now is, stands far off in the edges of the body of students, his face the same blank slate. Izuku hopes he'll at least make a few friends this time. He deserves a nice life too. If his old comrade decides to visit him one day, maybe he'll be that friend he needs. Izuku won't seek him out, but if their fates intertwine he won't stop it. He looks nothing like he did as Kocho Shinobu, but fate is a fickle thing. Who knows what could unknowingly trigger Tomioka's memories? Izuku definitely won't experiment on it. Some things are better left alone. He takes his eye off the screen for a split second to read a label of a vial of poison when in his peripheral, the small quarter displaying the USJ suddenly darkens. Izuku whips his head to the PC, the wisteria poison gripped tightly in his grasp. There is no sound coming from the footage, but he imagines the shrieks and scraping of metal against metal as he watches large sheets slither over the clear glass of the facility dome. His mouth dries, and the scent of wisteria is suddenly overwhelming. The sun. The sun. There is no longer any sunlight in the USJ. He jumps to the worst situation possible before he's even presented any evidence. He's being paranoid. This is just paranoia, right? His body trembles, his mind racing through millions of theories and possibilities, all of them leading to the same thing. He knows that they are dead, yet he can't stop the all-consuming fear that wraps and squeezes around his body like a vice. Izuku glues his eyes onto the screen, unblinking, to absorb every detail in hopes to spot something, but then, the screen flickers to black. Izuku isn't normally one to swear, but in this scenario he thinks it's fair. He should tell Power Loader, tell the heroes and leave it to them. He has no business with a hero's job. It isn't his responsibility. But it is. It could be. If it's a demon. As the insect Hashira, Kocho Shinobu, could be his responsibility. Just in case, he chants in his head as he strips down his uniform and replacing it with another. He's kept it within hand's reach all his life, just in case. His Demon Slayer uniform and his old Nichiren blade had been collecting dust in a hidden compartment in his chemistry lab, waiting for a forsaken day where he would need them. Izuku prayed that his hand would never be forced to do this. Alas, he was never God's favorite. The Gakuren is expertly buttoned on with years' worth of muscle memory, and his Nichiren blade is quickly fastened on right after. Last is his Heiori, one identical to the one he wore in his past life. His butterfly clip is left behind, his hair is far too short for that now. Within a minute he's dressed and ready. Sprinting out the door, he grabs his strongest poisons as he runs, clipping them to his belt. Midoriya. Power Loader calls out to him, "What are you wearing? Where are you going?" Any dread and fear is now wrapped under a sweet, calm smile. There is no worth in panicking. He is a Hashira for God's sake. Buckling under of a maybe threat of a demon would be disgraceful. USJ is currently under attack. Alert the teachers, he evenly informs. What? Midoriya dash. Sorry, sensei. He apologizes, unapologetically, I'll explain myself later. Ignoring his teacher's protests, he unsheathes his stinger, moving it forward, shattering the window. His classmates cry in alarm, and he leaps through the exit, throwing himself out of a 6th-story window. Slowing his descent with the flutter of his Heiori and arms, he lands softly onto the ground, before pushing off his tiptoed foot, propelling himself into a sprint. Wind rushes through his hair, the world blurring around him as he travels at high speed, one that only the insect Hashira could achieve. His blade is held at the ready when he arrives at the USJ, and with a single move, the doors split open. A finger twitches, the only crack in his facade as he faces down the first demon he's encountered in nearly 2 decades. He resists the urge to wrinkle his nose at the foul smell of a demon's presence, covering up his disgust with a smile. Not a spot of sunlight in the facility, besides the small crack he forcefully created with his entrance. The light halos around his figure, drawing the attention to his lone form. Like an angel sent from the heavens, he will dispose of these demons. Hello, he addresses the 6 students before him, ignoring the misty demon. Am I late? Are you a villain? A student bluntly asks him, his helmet obscuring whatever expression he's making. Izuku laughs lightly, fortunately not. I'm a student. Class B, someone hopefully wishes. Support course. You must leave then. Helmet student panics, please alert the heroes dash. The demon cuts in, his short patience run thin, I'm afraid I cannot allow that. His mist spreads threateningly, eyes aglow, the yellow piercing the expansive dark. I'm afraid I cannot let you do anything. His tone tiptoes the dark line of utter hatred and sickening sweet. Mr. Izuku brandishes his needle-like blade, poison already coating the metal. Tell me, how many sins have you committed? His yellow eyes narrow. Now why should I answer that? Because it will help me decide how much pain you must suffer before your misdeeds are forgiven. If they are paid accordingly, then maybe at the end we can become friends. He slips into his old routine easily, the rehearsed words automatically spilling at the face of a demon. It doesn't matter that he knows the path that it will choose, that all demons choose, because this is what he knows, what he's familiar with. I'll pass on your offer. At least he's polite. I apologize. I must do my duty and kill you now. He takes that back. Unfortunate. I must do my duty too then. Blood Demon Art, Warp Gate, never-ending path. Insect breathing, dance of the bee sting dash. He weaves through the endless gates, threatening to swallow his body with the grace of a butterfly at blinding speeds. The demon's eyes widen when he suddenly is faced with the concealed anger of the insect Hashira. Within the second and the next, Izuku dodged the demon's attack and closed the distance between them. He rears back his sword arm, the illusion of butterflies following its path. True flutter. A single move, and the demon's metal plating is pierced. Pulling out his blade, he distances the demon with 2 swift consecutive kicks. Jumping, he lands on the demon's torso, leaning his full weight onto the fresh wound. You are a fool dash. The demon makes effort to heal the injury, ignorant of the spreading poison. A feeble attack like that will not kill me. Izuku tilts his head. Only by decapitation, right? That's the only way to kill you, besides the sun. You mustn't think you're safe just because you haven't been beheaded. The demon twitches under his hold, eyes shifting back and forth to find escape. He can't let that happen. Izuku moves his blade again, pinning the demon to the floor. How do you know that? He grunts out. Izuku pretends to not hear the question, smiling wider instead in replace of a reply. He retrieves his katana, twisting it along the way for good measure. The mist covering his body hides the effect of his poison. For a fleeting moment he fears that the wisteria concoction won't work, but then the demon violently jerks, stilling, then begins to dissolve. He turns back to the gawking faces of the students, their eyes glued to the spot where the mist demon is crumbling to dust. Izuku feels a little bad, witnessing what they thought was an ordinary villain be stabbed then dissolve by an unknown teen isn't exactly rainbows and butterflies. Well, butterflies, maybe, you get the idea. Demons are traumatizing. But they're not a priority. His job isn't finished. He leaps over the students, flipping, and turns his momentum downwards, right to where the second demon resides. Izuku flies down the staircase, touching down once only to propel himself up again, gaining more speed. A man dressed in black, a hero, barely dodges a spinning, very sharp-looking, spiked mace. The weapon flies back to the demon. A drop of blood drawn from the hero's cheek drips down the mace. The demon licks it off with a long stripe of his tongue. Gross, he hears the hero mutter. He flutters his arms, twisting in the air, and silently lands behind the demon. The hero stills, eyes widening. Izuku smiles, putting a finger to his mouth. Great weather we have today, don't you think? He says into the demon's ear. Maybe we could take a walk together dash. The demon makes a sound of surprise before he's automatically swinging an arm, mace in hand, directed at Izuku's head. He takes to the air again, dodging another swing and retaliates with a barrage of rapid kicks to the chest. In the warm sun. It's rude to interrupt people, young man. Who the hell are you? The demon attempts to grab his leg. Izuku springs out the way and distances himself, meeting up with the hero. Standing between the two, he spins and flares his sword between his fingers and hands in an almost hypnotic pattern, shamelessly flaunting his skill in front of the two of them. Midoriya Izuku, he charmingly replies, you're at a first-year support course? You're that quirkless kid, the hero recognizes, alarm in his voice. He hums. I'll handle myself, Izuku reassures. The demon smirks. Quirkless, eh? You suicidal kid? Running headlong into fights will only get ya killed. Fancy tricks mean shit against someone like me. I'll handle myself, Izuku repeats. Hero, you should check on your students. It'll be easier if he didn't have to skirt around the hero while he fights. Keeping away non-slayers far from the demon will give him more breathing room. Insect breathing isn't as destructive like other styles are, but it doesn't take away the fact that demons themselves aren't destructive. Midoriya, you shouldn't even be here. Retreat, that's an order. His eye twitches in annoyance. I advise you to listen to me, hero. I'll handle myself. You're not a hero student dash. I am not. He easily agrees, meaning that you have no jurisdiction over me, Power Loader does. I'm still a teacher here, my authority extends to you. Goodness, you're a stubborn one, aren't you? He laughs off his frustration. If you insist on staying, do me a favor and take care of the nice gentleman over there, the one with too many hands. Though he smells foul, and his excessive appendages is demon-like. He is not one. But please, stay away from my fight. Midoriya Yusish, demons are not known for their patience. He's surprised the demon has tolerated their babbling until now. The hero's hand shoots out, suddenly alarmed. Watch out. Izuku takes to the air, extending his legs to kick away the spinning spikes that were originally aimed at his head. He lands back on the ground, sighing. What did I say about interrupting people? You dodged, the demon states. He smiles. I did. Was I not supposed to? Stop playing around, Midoriya, the hero hisses. Ah, sorry, old habits die hard. I'll take this seriously now. Hero, take care of that villain over there. I'll be finished soon, so just hold him off for a while. Wisteria poison doesn't work on ordinary villains, and he'll prefer to not cut up a human. Despite them having committed crimes, death is too harsh of a punishment. Instead of disposing of the villain himself before jumping onto the demon, Izuku will trust the hero to hold his ground against a C-list villain. Don't die. Izuku shifts into battle stance, the demon mimicking him, his hands held out with a weapon readied in each. He allows his opponent to take the first strike, standing still as the demon closes the distance with rapid speed, becoming a streak of gray in the dark light. He mutters lowly into the demon's ear, uncaring of the fist a breaths away from impaling his chest. Dance of the dragonfly, compound eye hexagon. Taking a step back, he delivers a 6-strike attack, moving his stinger in and out the demon's body in rapid succession. Each pierce of flesh splatters blood on his dark uniform and injects a dose of poison. Neck, heart, kidney, stomach, then heart and neck again. On the last attack he backs off, the illusion of butterflies fading, and watches the demon stagger and clutch at his wounds. Impressive, but inevitably useless, the demon scorns. You're like an annoying pest, an insect. Small, fast, bothersome. You think that this will kill me, boy? I could swat you away with a twist of my wrist, smother you with one blow, or should I tear you limb by limb, then you won't be buzzing around any longer. An insect? You're not very original, young man. If you're going to insult me, at least use something that would actually offend me. But then again, you're not very bright, are you? Kill me with a twist of your wrist, tear me limb from limb? If you could do such things, how come you haven't done so yet? Sweet boy, lying is a sin, killing is a sin. Izuku twirls his blade, his expression innocent and kind, but I'll forgive you if you answer a few of my questions. The demon takes a step forward, his movements sluggish and slow. Shut up. Your voice disgusts me, stop your incessant yapping, 'cause all I hear is a pest of a fly buzzing in my ear. Etchem, that one was a bit better. Though I'm afraid my voice isn't the source of the buzz, you're a bit slow, so I'll spell it out for you. Wisteria poison is spreading through your system as we speak, killing you at a rapid pace. The dose I injected in you is one of my most potent batches, made for much stronger demons than you. You have approximately a minute and 30 seconds before you die. Who the F are you? Demons, Wisteria, how could a brat like you know anything? Have you forgotten already? My name is Midoriya Izuku, I'm going to kill you, brat. I'll just heal my body and get rid your shitty weak butt poison. The demon dashes forward, arms outstretched, his weapons overlooked by his hasty decisions. Izuku sheathes his blade. The fight will be over before the demon reaches him. Almost humorously, the demon face plants on the floor, then starts writhe on the ground like a particularly hideous worm. The pathetic creature coughs up blood, black-purple veins bulges out his skin. Izuku stands over the demon, pulling out a single vial from his pocket, dangling it above the demon's face. 30 seconds before you die. This is the only antidote. He holds it closer, teasing the demon as he tries to weakly reach out to the vial. I'll give it to you if you answer one question. The demon garbles out an unintelligible sound, but it sounds agreeable enough. Tell me who your master is. Say Tensei. Say. Tensei is. Izuku breathes out a relived sigh. Last question, have you heard of the name Kibutsuji Musen? He asks to confirm. The demon shakes his head, eyes rolling around crazily, blood spilling from them. Izuku keeps his promise, unfurling the demon's fingers. He places the vial into its hand. He squeezes the demon's hand, making sure the antidote doesn't fall out. There you go. Make sure to take the antidote soon. You have about 10 seconds. Maybe he's being cruel, tantalizing the cure to his life by the nose, knowing that the demon is unable to make the simple movement of pouring the antidote into his mouth. But he's not Tanjiro, he doesn't have any sympathy for demons like he does. Nezuko was a 1 in a million chance, her kind is rarer than rare, the demon by his feet is definitely not one of them. The body begins to dissolve. Oh no, he cries out in false alarm, sweet boy, you're dying. Hurry, take the antidote. If the demon could speak, he imagines that he would be spitting curses at his face, but all he manages is a furious glare before the demon completely dissolves. The still intact antidote clinks onto the floor with no one holding it any longer. Izuku retrieves it, tucking it back into his pocket. Turning, he leaps off his foot, heading towards the hero's direction to check up on him. He hopes he's still alive. Fortunately, when he arrives, the hero is alive, albeit a bit roughed up and ragged. Unsheathing his blade, he knocks away the hand reaching for the hero's elbow, creating a shallow cut across his palm. Where's Kurogiri? The villain snarls. What did you do to him? Kurogiri? I don't know a Kurogiri, but if you're talking about one of your companions, they're both dead. The hero's eyes bulge out of his sockets. You killed them? Oh my bad, was I not supposed to? Midoriya will talk about this later, the hero promises, warning edging his tone. There's no way a brat like you killed those two. The villain raises his wounded palm before twinging and switches hands to scratch harshly at his own neck. Wisteria poison is not deadly to humans, but that does not mean it has no effect on them, it is still poison after all. To those unused to its effects, it can cause severe rashes, nausea, dizziness and shortness of breath. Sorry about that, I forget that not everyone is used to my poison like I am. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? Izuku bows his head politely, placing a hand over his hilt. Would you like me to stop the pain then, mister? The villain ceases his scratching. You'll really kill me, huh? Not very heroic. Well, good thing I'm not a hero. In one swift movement he wipes any remnants of wisteria poison on the fabric of his haori, dashing forward in the next second. Again, he knocks away an offending hand as he leaps right above the villain's head and sends a precise kick to the pressure point on his neck, knocking the man out in one blow. He touches back down gracefully, hovering over the villain's unconscious body. Hero, are you injured? Izuku didn't bring his medical supplies with him, but he does have a spare roll of bandages in his pocket. Are you? He shoots back, ignoring his own question. Not a scratch. Are you injured? He repeats, more sternly this time. Something must show in his voice or face because the hero's reply is near instant. Surface injuries. The villain had some type of disintegration quirk, he got me a couple of times. Izuku beckons a hand, unrolling the roll of bandages as the hero approaches. Roll up your sleeves, or take off your shirt if that's more comfortable, carefully, he adds. I can bandage myself. You can, but it's advisable not to. Sit. He does. Taking a look at the sluggishly bleeding wounds, he inspects for any abnormalities before starts working. The skin is cracked and gray around the edges. The deepest part of the wound exposes his muscle, but it doesn't go in further than that. I'll stop the bleeding, but I don't have anything to prevent infection or the pain. He wraps the bandages around the hero's bicep as he speaks. Recovery girl can heal you later, but if you prefer to reserve your energy, you can come to the support lab and I'll be able to treat you there. You're good at this, the hero observes. He hums, cutting off the excess bandages with his blade. I've had my fair share of experience. That's an interesting sword? He half asks, half states. It's a sword, he confirms, a katana to be more specific. Where did you get it from? Questions later, hero. Just call me Aizawa-sensei Midoriya. Aizawa, not sensei, because he's technically not his teacher, nods and thanks once he's done with wrapping his wounds. Would you actually be able to treat my injuries? Did he not just say to ask questions later? But he guesses this question is harmless enough. I would. I don't have any pre-made tonics, but I'll make one if you need. Thanks, but I'll pass on it. Izuku nods, not really too shocked by the rejection. It makes sense Aizawa doesn't trust Izuku to heal him. He did recently admit murdering 2 villains that he doesn't know were actually demons. Izuku sighs internally. He's gotten himself in a terrible mess because he couldn't keep himself from butting into others' business. Live a good life, he said, live a long life. Curse the gods for showing the inability to leave him the F alone. Midoriya? Aizawa calls, are you alright? He immediately smothers his anger, smoothing out his face and replacing his scowl with a smile. I'm fine Aizawa-san, just thinking. The hero frowns at his choice on honorifics, but doesn't comment on it. About what? He hums dismissively, nothing that concerns you. The heroes should be arriving soon by the way. I told Powerloader to alert the teachers before I left. They're awfully slow, Izuku internally thinks. He would have thought they would have been in more of a rush if their students were in danger, but he guesses they can't be blamed. Izuku hadn't really elaborated when he warned Powerloader, so it must have taken a while to check if the USJ was actually under attack and then gather the heroes. How did you get here so quickly, or even know USJ was under attack? There's a screen in the lab displaying the security footage of today's campus. When the footage suddenly cut out, I assumed something was wrong and ran here. The USJ is 10 minutes away from the main campus, and that's by bus. Izuku smiles. I'm much faster than a bus, Aizawa-san. That's impressive kid. Funny, he's technically older than the man. You fight well, though I don't approve of murder, and the fact that you ignored my orders, I'm still grateful. Aizawa inclines his head. You fought for both my students and I, thank you. For the first time today, his smile is genuine. It's okay Aizawa-san, I just did what's right. The protecting part of course, he adds, not the killing. Glad to hear that kid, you still have a lot of explaining to do though. I know, but let's save that for later. The heroes are here. On cue, the doors burst open, properly this time. Unlike Izuku, they used some type of mechanism to reprogram the lock on the door instead of stabbing their way in. All Might stands proudly at the front with the principal on his shoulder. The rest of the teachers hang a step back, quirks and weapons at the ready. They look around confusedly when they see no villains in the immediate vicinity, slowly lowering their weapons. Aizawa-san, I think it'd be best if you report to them. I'll stay here with Mr. Hands just in case he wakes up. Oh, and tell them to gather the students. They're spread across the facility. Aizawa sighs lowly through his nose. Midoriya, you can't keep ordering me around. I'm your teacher. I mean no disrespect Aizawa-san, and you're not my teacher, he reminds. Maybe I will be one day. You'd make a good hero. Maybe. But I don't want to be a hero. He's been in enough fights to last 5 lifetimes. Dying young again isn't a goal of his. He doesn't want to be a hero, but if demons are back he might not have a say in whether he fights or not. Though I may change my mind. You're very adept at combat for someone who doesn't want to be a hero. I like to keep myself fit, and I guess combat just comes naturally to me. Midoriya Izuku. Powerloader calls from the staircase, running down as he yells. You have some explaining to do, young man. He lets his teacher catch up to him before he speaks. Hello, sensei. Sorry for running off like that. Midoriya. Powerloader scans his body, checking for any injuries. Is that your blood? Are you hurt? It's not mine, he reassures. Aizawa-san over here is hurt though. His teacher points an accusatory finger at him. Don't try to change the topic, Midoriya. Are you alright, Aizawa? He asks the hero anyway. I'm fine, Midoriya bandaged me. You're full of surprises, aren't you, kid? Powerloader sighs. First you're breaking my windows, then you're jumping out of them and running to fight a bunch of villains. And here I thought Hatsum was the wild one. You were supposed to be my star student, Midoriya. His teacher spots the purple, wisteria-colored stains on his Heiori, and sighs again. You used your poison? You use poison? Aizawa interjects. Where did you dash? He stops himself. Right, support course. You made it yourself. So this is why you kept on making the same poison over and ever again. To fight villains. Well, not exactly, sensei. If he weren't wearing a helmet, he'd see his teacher's eyebrows shoot up. What do you mean? He asks cautiously. He leans in, holding a hand to his mouth like he's telling a secret. Sensei, have you ever heard of demons? Demon slayers? As in dash. As in slaying demons in the most literal senses. You were a woman in your past life? Midnight is the one to ask. Izuku tilts his head in her direction, a smile that's vaguely threatening pasted on his face. Is there a problem with that, Midnight Sensei? No, she quickly denies. I'm just a bit shocked really. I think it's amazing that you were a well-recognized swordswoman back in the Taisho era. It's nothing impressive, swordswomen weren't uncommon back then, believe it or not. One of the other Hashira was female too. One of the strongest, may I add. Kenroji was a very respectable demon slayer. Midnight eyes gleam, her hands flying to her mouth. Kenroji. As in the Kenroji Mitsuri. You've heard of her? Have I heard of her? Of course I've heard of her. Her and Igiro's love story was absolutely heart-wrenching. Izuku persists to keep his smile up. So they had died in the end. He had purposely avoided any documentation and stories on his old comrades, so he never found out who died and who had lived past dawn that night. I've always rooted for them, it was nice seeing them pine for each other. It reminded everyone that even in those times, love still persisted. No one seems to pick up the note of sadness in his tone. Wait. Midnight stops her rant. There were only 2 female Hashira, and if you're not Kenroji, then you must be Dash. Kocho Shinobu, the insect Hashira. To his surprise, looks of recognition pass through the teachers' faces. I'm assuming you know of me? Oh my god, Power Loader drags a hand down his face. How did I not know? The poison, all that medical supplies, how did I not figure it out? I never specifically knew what flower you were using, but I should have checked. I'm sure you wouldn't have immediately concluded that I was a reincarnation even if you knew, Sensei. Don't be so hard on yourself. Though, I'm a bit confused. I know I was well known. Listener, Present Mike says, disbelief on his face, you're one of the most prominent figures in Japanese history. I'm sorry, what? How did you not know that, kid? Aizawa drawls, your name is in the textbooks and everything. I never studied for science. He never had to, considering he already had all his knowledge from his past life. And I've always avoided any type of history books. A look of understanding crosses everyone's faces, coming to the obvious conclusion. May I ask what I'm known for? The principal slides a textbook across the table, coming to his rescue. Page 78, he helpfully provides. Flipping to the page, he's immediately greeted by a black and white picture of his own face. He remembers taking this picture. It was on the day he officially became a Hashira. This was taken when I was promoted to Hashira, he says, to no one particularly. Midnight, along with a few other teachers, lean over to take a peek. Aizawa frowns. How old were you when you took the picture? Barely 16. He hates the pitying looks the teachers send him. It may seem young, but it wasn't unusual back then. A lot of the Hashira were either in their teens or 20s. Our youngest was its unethical, but times were different. As long as you could hold a sword and swing it well enough, you were legible to be a demon slayer. Age didn't matter. Honestly, Izuku thinks they're being a bit hypocritical. They're against letting children fight demons, but here they are, in a school where they train kids to fight villains. It's not much of difference, one's just a tad more dangerous than the other. He reads over his page in the textbook while the teachers contemplate in silence. The text schemes over his main career as a demon slayer, mostly focusing his achievements as a medical practitioner. He knew that he made a lot of scientific breakthroughs and invented a various amount of medicines and tonics, but he never considered the impact it made on the development on medicine itself. Admittedly, he's a bit proud of himself. He's glad he was able to leave something behind before he died. He closes the book, finished reading the pages. Are the rest of the Hashira or any other demon slayers recorded in history? There were a few other books published, along with museums dedicated to artifacts. The most notable book, or rather autobiography, would be The Legend of Zenitsu. Zenitsu? So he survived then, he murmurs lowly to himself. He's glad he was a kind-hearted boy, even if he was a difficult patient at times. Do you have a copy of one principle? Unfortunately not. There are limited copies, so I haven't been able to get my hands on one. Though I'd be happy to try to find an online scan for you. Izuku smiles gratefully. I'd like that, thank you. Now that everyone's caught up and informed of the basics of who he was, what he did and what demons are, it's time to decide what his plan is. Principal, would you mind if I ask for another favor? Anything within reason, Midoriya. I want permission to fight and to continue my research after school hours in the lab. Niza clasps his hands, paws, together. I'm glad you asked. I was already planning for you to be transferred to the hero course, and the lab hours can be organized. I'd like to know what you're researching though. Something similar to my poison. In the battle against Musen I, along with one of our allies, procreated a drag that was able to significantly weaken the Demon King. I want to recreate it in case we find ourselves facing a similar foe. He doesn't know if he actually could recreate the drag without Tamayo, but it's definitely worth the effort to try. And I want to study the next demon I encounter. Midoriya, Aizawa calls, you said that demons were once humans. I did. Is there a way to turn them back instead of killing them? There is. Don't get your hopes up though. Once a demon has tasted blood, there is no chance for them. I must remind you again, a demon is a demon, he emphasizes. Yes, they were once human, but they aren't one any longer. The best thing you can do for a demon is to kill them and free them from their miserable life. I understand that you are all hesitant in killing, but that is why I am here. As long as I'm alive, no one else should have to be forced to face a demon. But if it makes you feel better, I'll recreate the medicine that can turn a demon, just in case. The teachers nod, slowly, processing all the information. And wisteria incense packets to deter demons, of course. Most demons will keep away if you keep one on your body. The staff exchange glances like he had said something wrong. Listener. Present mic starts. You're not planning to fight these things all on your own, are you? His smile strains. Well, it wouldn't make sense for anyone else to. I'm the only one capable of killing a demon. But demons can be killed by wisteria poison, Present Mike argues. I'm not sure if anyone here can behead one, but it can't be hard to hit a demon with a poison bullet or dash. You misunderstand me. Utilizing wisteria poison isn't simply the easier option to beheading a demon. Ordinary bullets aren't enough to pierce a demon's skin. You'd have to use Nichirin, and we're low on supply on the metal to my knowledge. Even then, poison-coated bullets isn't a large enough dose to kill them. And if you think you could use a blade like mine, you'd have to get close enough to administer poison to the demon. You have to be quicker than them, smarter, more agile. You have to know how to swing and move a katana in the most precise way so it doesn't snap in half mid-battle. It is not easy. My fighting style cannot be learned within a few weeks or even months. And if you could, you would have to build an immunity to my poison lest you succumb to the effects yourself. He does his best not to glare. It isn't their fault that they don't understand. I know you're reluctant to let me fight on my own, but I remind you that I've done this before. I have years of experience. Not only that, but it is my responsibility as a Hashira to fight for the people that can't. I am in no way being arrogant or patronizing. But in full truth, no one in this room could survive a fight against a demon, let alone kill one. Aizawa-san, tell me, what did you think about the demons at the USJ? Please be honest. Aizawa looks reluctant to answer, but he does anyway. They were strong, immensely so. It wasn't like any villain I've ever fought before. If it weren't for the sake of my students, I would have frozen in fear. Aizawa is a respectable hero from what he's gathered from the reactions of the teachers. It's a shock to them that Aizawa openly admitted to being afraid. You held up well, Izuku compliments earnestly. Most don't survive their first encounter with a demon. That being said, the two demons at USJ were weak, inexperienced, and in no way close to the strength of a powerful demon. Aizawa-san here, he tilts his head slightly towards the man, said it himself. The demons he faced wasn't like anything he's fought before, and they weren't even a close representation of the real deal. I want everyone here to understand that I'm not against the idea of having teammates, but I am against working with people that, and I mean this in the kindest way possible, will only get themselves killed on the battlefield. If I have time, I will offer to teach anyone interested in the basics of total concentration breathing, but between school, research and hunting demons I won't be able to do it often. In reality, he's only offering to teach them as a way of compromise. It's unlikely any of the staff could master total concentration with sparing sessions, and if they somehow do master it, they would still need to learn how to wield a katana. These people here are heroes. As long as they feel like they're being useful, they should be satisfied. I don't know, Class B's homeroom teacher speaks up, addressing his fellow staff. It still feels wrong letting a 15-year-old do all the fighting. I assure you my age won't hinder me, he reminds again. Nizu, what do you think? Aizawa asks. Eraser, you're not seriously considering letting Midoriya do this, are you? I'm against it too, Vlad, but the kid's got a point. No one here is equipped to fight a demon, and it's not like we can't be there for backup. His jaw twitches. He would much prefer to not have anyone tag along to any of his missions. But he doesn't protest. This is the best he can do. Nizu takes a sip of his tea, that's probably long gone cold. Aizawa is right. Midoriya makes a good argument. Midnight splutters. But he's just a kid. I can handle myself. I don't agree with letting one of our students fight on the front lines, but it seems we don't have a choice, right, Midoriya? He nods firmly. I'll allow Midoriya to handle any situation concerning demons and continue his research. I'm trusting you, Midoriya, to make sure you not only keep yourself safe but to act accordingly. If you must go any missions or patrols, you will have a hero supervising you. Nizu turns to his staff, supervising only. Unless the situation is dire, or Midoriya gives you an order, I want no one interfering with his work. And Midoriya, please take care of yourself, do not shoulder the burden alone. Injuries may be inevitable, but I want you to avoid as many as possible. It's reasonable. Of course. Any objections? Nizu addresses the room. The teachers are still reluctant, but they know Nizu has already made his mind. But, Midoriya? I do have one more request. Nizu inclines his head, waiting for him to continue. I want permission to carry my Nichiren blade with me at all times. I trust you'll be responsible? I would never use it irresponsibly. It's against the core rules to do so. The core are disbanded, but it feels like a sin to even think of disregarding then rules. Then I'll allow it. Is that all right with you, Aizawa? He's going to be in your classroom after all. Fine by me, Aizawa grunts. Though my class will probably cause a ruckus about it. Great. Nizu clasps his hands together. If no one has anything else to add, then this marks the end of our meeting. He pauses, monetarily waiting for any objections. You're all free to go then. Izuku is first to stand, pulling his chair out with minimal scraping. Still in his Slayer uniform, he passes by the teachers and walks right out the door, aware of the lingering gazes staring at the back of his head. By the times he's in the hallway, no one has begun to leave their seat. He hopes they're not planning to talk behind his back. Being disliked by comrades is more of Tomioka's thing. He fiddles with his butterfly clip as he waits outside his new classroom's door. He had been given a new blazer, the blazer that indicates he's in the hero course now, and a complimentary belt to hold his Nichiren blade even though he has one of his own. The weight of his weapon grounds him. Izuku's not necessarily nervous per se, but confronting the students that were there when he killed a demon isn't ideal. He has a lot of explaining to do, to say the least. Midnight had visited in his lab yesterday and, without his permission, snooped around his drawers. She didn't mean any harm or moved anything important from their spots, so Izuku let her do as she pleased. But when she found his butterfly clip, she insisted on him to start wearing it again. He told her that his hair was too short, thinking that it would satisfy the hero, but instead she took it as a challenge. Within a minute, somehow, Midnight had reconstructed his clip to work on his short, curly hair. It's not like any would bully him over a hair accessory, and even if they did, he wouldn't care. It's the questions that come with it that hesitates Izuku. He admits it would be nice to have the familiarity of his clip though. So with the bell a moment's way of ringing, he reaches to the back of his head and pins the butterfly accessory to his hair. Midoriya, Aizawa calls from the other side of the door, you can come in now. Midoriya, someone questions out loud, is he the new student? He takes the cue to slide open the unnecessarily large door, striding in confidently and stops at the front of the classroom, pasting a pleasant smile on his face. Hello classe. Aizawa-san already introduced me, but I'll say it again. Izuku inclines his head in a slight bow. My name is Midoriya Izuku, Yurata first year, and a former support course student. I hope we all get along. A boy with glasses stands from his seat, ramrod straight. I'm Ida Tenya, Class S representative. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you, Ida-san. I'll keep that in mind. Ida pushes his glasses up. You seem familiar, Midoriya-kun. Formalities. Ida already knows who he is. Were you Dash? I am, he quickly cuts off. He doesn't mind letting his new classmates know about his presence at the USJ incident, but he'd prefer to keep the fact he killed a villain between him and the people that were there to witness it firsthand. The secret won't be kept forever, but he'd at least like to prolong his explanation for as long as he can. Karo, a girl ribbits, raising her hand politely. Why did you transfer to the hero course Midoriya? I didn't know it was possible to have transfers before the sports festival. Well, I got into a bit of trouble. He lies easily, but since it was deemed I had good intentions, I was transferred to the hero course so Aizawa-sensei can keep an eye on me. They said it might only be temporary, but if I prove myself worthy I can continue down the hero track. His classmates believe him without hesitation, all nodding along to his story. With the exception of Kaken, who's been uncharacteristically quiet for the past 5 minutes. A girl with pink skin bounces in her seat, waving her hand in the air. Ashido Mina. She hurriedly introduces herself. Hey Midoriya, what's that on your hip? His hands finds his hilt naturally at the mention of his weapon, drawing the eyes of everyone to his side. It's my katana. Whoa, her eyes widen, can you show us? Izuku turns to Aizawa, silently asking for permission. His teacher sighs, nodding. In one swift movement he unsheathes his Nichiren blade, the metal creating a light shlink as it pulls out of his scabbard. The lavender blue of the metal sheens under the artificial lighting as he shows it off to his enraptured classmates. Not what you expected? He asks his classmates. It's quite an unique weapon. Katana doesn't entirely describe it. Izuku sheathes his blade. I'd say it's more of a stinger. So cool, he hears someone whisper. Before anyone asks, his eyes flicker to Ida's seat. I'm permitted to carry my weapon on me at all times. And no, he smiles sweetly, you may not know why. His classmates are bursting with unspoken questions, but instead of answering them, he makes his way to the empty seat at the back of the room, the one right behind Kaken. He feels the blonde's eyes follow his movements as he walks down the aisle, still silent and not saying a word to him. They haven't spoken since the end of middle school, but he'd expected some type of explosive reaction from the boy when his transfer to heroics was announced. Kaken left him alone for the most of middle school, aside from a few snide jabs and insults that'd occasionally spew out of his mouth during the years. Kaken hasn't been his bully since the day he regained his memories. With his memories came the almost complete 180 of his personality, demeanor, and basically everything. One day he was sniveling little Deku, and the next he was the calm, confident, sweet Izuku. It had been an entertaining week, watching his old classmates and teachers gawk at his newfound confidence and intelligence. Though he'd always been smart, he never showed it until he remembered his past life. They left him alone for the most part after that week. The physical bullying stopped after he had outpaced any chasers and dodged every attack. Even the verbal insults had calmed down as well, calling him Deku and weak quickly became stale once they found out he wasn't as useless and weak anymore. They never found out the reason of his change, and neither had Kaken. He doesn't plan on confessing to his old friend anytime soon, but maybe, just maybe, he could possibly rekindle things with Kaken. He'd like to live his second life to the fullest, meaning he wants to die without any regrets this time around. There's a lot of things Izuku hates, and loose ends had always been one of them. He sits down without another word, careful of the katana on his waist, and continues to ignore any curious eyes digging into the side of his head. Izuku tunes out his homeroom teacher, opting to write in his notebook and work on his anti-kibutsuji drag. It's obviously not being made for Muzan, just for someone similar to him. If there's another Demon King out there, he needs to be prepared. He remembers all the notes and research from his side, but the drag was a joint effort between him and Tamayo. It shouldn't be too hard to fill in the missing holes, but he'll have to go through trial and error to perfect the formula. The few minutes of homeroom left passes, the bell rings and a cacophony of the screeching of chairs reach his ears. Suddenly, he's surrounded on all sides by his new classmates. Izuku snaps his book shut, tucking it back into his bag before anyone has a chance to question him on it. "Is there anything I can help you with?" he asks, hiding his slight annoyance. Toshido Hirkles squeals, pointing at his hair. "I love your butterfly clip. It's so cute." "Thank you, my sis. It was a gift from a close friend of mine." "What perfume do you use?" He turns to the source of the voice, only to find a floating uniform. "An invisibility quirk? Perfume? Yeah, or is it a cologne? It has to be a perfume, right? You don't smell anything like that stinky Axe cologne the boys use." "Hey!" A few of his male classmates protest. How does he tell her it's just the residue of wisteria poison fumes? "It's wisteria scented," he settles on. "I made it myself." In the corner of his eye, Todoroki snaps to attention from his seat, staring at him with narrowed eyes. He tilts his head to discreetly face Todoroki, raising a questioning eyebrow. Tomioka's gaze flickers to the clip in his hair, to the katana by his waist, an odd passing on his face. Before he can decipher it, the invisible girl blocks his sight with her uniform. "So cool. Hey Midoriya, do you want to join the girls on our shopping trip?" Genuine surprise blooms on his face, taken aback the abrupt invitation. He doesn't even know this girl's name, and she's already inviting him on a shopping trip? What? A very short, even by Izuku's standards, boy cries, "Why does he get to be invited? You've known him for a minute." Ashido huffs, crossing her arms. "'Cause he's way cooler than you, Mineta. He actually has taste unlike all you brick-headed boys." She turns back to him, her smile back on her face. "What do you say, Midoriya? A shopping trip to get to know us better." "I'm sorry, Ashido, but my schedule is kinda packed. Between his lab work and training, he doesn't have any time. I have training and research to do after school, maybe another day?" The girl deflates. "Midoriya, you're one of those guys. Always training and studying. Live a little while we're still young, won't you?" "I'm sorry," he says again, "we can reschedule to after the sports festival if you want." Yes, let's do that." "Can I come?" Mineta asks, drool running down his face. "No," the girls shout at once. He leans in towards a girl with earphones dangling down her ears, hand covering his mouth. "He's a pervert, isn't he?" he stage whispers. She snorts. "That obvious?" The drool gave him away. Izuku stares at the boy with thinly veiled disdain. "If he tries anything and you're not comfortable with telling a teacher, come to me." He smiles sweetly. "My sword isn't for show." "I'll pass it on to the other girls," she replies with a wicked smile of her own. "Hey Midoriya," a new voice calls, "you said you had training, right?" He swivels to the male with bright red hair, styled into spikes. "I did. Do you want to join us? We can all train together." "Us?" "Yeah. Me, Kaminari, Siro, Ashido and maybe Bakugu." "I'm not coming, shitty hair." Kaken yells from his seat. "Not Bakugu then," the boy laughs. "How about it, Midoriya? What's with these kids and invitations? What type of training is it? If it's sparring, to prep for the festival, and to maybe see you use that manly sword of yours." Declining the second invite of the day would be rude, especially since he doesn't have an excuse this time. He doesn't mind getting to know his classmates, but if he's being honest, they're a little overwhelming. Izuku's used to eccentric people, but it was to a limit of 8, not 20. He stifles a small sigh. "Sure, I'll join you. After school?" A wide grin spreads on the boy's face, displaying his sharp teeth. "After school," he confirms. Wait, the earphone girl points an accusing finger. How come you're inviting the new kid, no offense Midoriya, and not us? Do you guys even need an invite? Kaminari, he assumes from the lightning bolt in his hair, we're just going to the gym, you guys can come at any time. Whatever. Sparring. He'll participate, though they won't get their wish to see his blade in action. He'd prefer not to kill his new classmates on his first day. Izuku sheds his blazer and unbuttons the first few buttons of his dress shirt. His opponent, Kirishima, he introduced himself as, bumps his fists together, activating his quirk. Don't go easy on me, Midoriya. He eyes the stony ridges on Kirishima's arms. A reinforcement quirk, he concludes. Of course not. He agrees, not yet reaching the hilt of his katana. Are you ready? Whenever you are. Since you're new, I'll dash. Wind rushes through his hair. Give me the first move? And he's suddenly behind Kirishima, speaking into his ear. His classmate jumps back in reflex, sending a reinforced fist to his stomach. Speed quirk. Kirishima questions out loud. So manly. Izuku jumps over the fist, retaliating with 2 swift kicks to his opponent's chest, sending him stumbling back. Touching back on the ground, he pushes himself back into the air, twisting his body to create momentum and delivers a spinning kick to the side of Kirishima's torso. Kirishima's skin is almost akin to a demon's, tough, so it isn't anything new when his foot meets his hardened chest. His classmate hits the ground, smacking the mat with an audible thud. Izuku takes the chance to jump onto his body, pinning his arms with his feet and presses his weight to prevent escape. Reaching for his scabbard, he unsheathes his blade and points it to Kirishima's throat, letting the sharp point of the metal graze his skin. Do you concede? The boy nods his head frantically, mindful of the blade at his throat. Izuku steps off his classmate's body, sheathing his katana once again. He holds out a hand. Man, I really got beat, huh? Kirishima doesn't hesitate to take his offer, letting himself be pulled up. You're really impressive, Midoriya. Thanks, Kirishima. You were great too. The boy laughs. So you're like Ida, speed quirk, right? Not a speed quirk, he denies, buttoning his shirt back up again. Kirishima blinks in surprise. An agility quirk then? Not an agility quirk. Reflex, he tries again. How about I give you a hint? Please. He smiles to himself, shrugging on his blazer. It has nothing to do with enhancing my body or mind. It has to do with nothing at all. He pats Kirishima on the back. I'll give you some time to figure it out, he says, beginning to walk out the gym. Wait, where are you going? Research. Izuku waves cheerfully without looking back to his classmates. Think about it. Kirishima. Oh, and don't ask Kaken, he'll give it away. Kaken? Who's Dash? Shudo stares at Midoriya's retreating form, studying the way his feet lightly treads the floor and the practiced cheeriness in his wave. His chest feels like it's being tugged towards Midoriya, like his body is beckoning him to the boy, wanting him to stay by his side. He can't stop thinking of his new classmate. His awful brain keeps forcefully replaying Midoriya's sweet smile, the captivating way he glided through the air and how he effortlessly defeated Kirishima. As much as he tries, he can't get that homely, sickening scent of wisteria out of his nose. He feels like he's been cursed. But under all those thoughts, there's a deep familiarity every time Midoriya crosses his mind. It's annoying, frustrating, because he doesn't know why he feels like this. Maybe he'll ask Fuyumi. She can probably explain why he feels this way. Aizawa hands him a thin file the moment he steps foot out the door. Wordlessly, he accepts the file, opening it with delicate fingers. He schemes over the papers. You think it might be a demon behind this? We were hoping you might know that. It's unlikely. He flips the page, unflinching at the image of gruesomely mauled bodies. These crimes occurred during the day. Stain works in the shadows. I'll check it out, he agrees easily. Even if he might not be a demon, it won't hurt to take care of him. He's in Hosu at the moment. If the pattern continues, he should attack again sometime during the festival. I don't mind missing out. Are you sure? It's an important event. It'll dictate your future as a hero. I'm not completely set on being a hero. I'm only in the course to take care of demons. Once that's done, I'll probably return to my studies. It'll be dangerous. Stain has already killed 23 pros. Nothing new then. Aizawa frowns. You shouldn't underestimate him. I think you're the one doing the underestimating, Aizawa-san. He tucks the file into the inward pocket in his blazer. Have you already forgotten the USJ? I'm not an easy opponent. I know, the hero sighs. Just be careful, okay Midoriya? I have no interest in dying, Aizawa-san. You're a kid, the hero smartly observes. Izuku secures the butterfly pin to his hair and adjusts his belt. I'm going to be hunting Stain. We are going to hunting Stain, Izuku corrects with a small tick of his lips. Don't worry, Ingenium-sen, he peers over his shoulder, eyeing the fire escape on the apartment building. I can handle myself. I'm sure you can, kid, but Stain's a dangerous villain dash. He tunes out the hero, humming along, pretending to listen. Ingenium suddenly stops mid-speech, realizing he's not actually listening. The hero sighs behind his helmet. You listening, kid? Not at all, he cheerfully replies. You have a speed quirk, correct? I do dash. Then you better keep up, Ingenium-sen. I won't slow down for you. Not bothering for a reply, he leaps into the air, flapping his haori, landing on the edge of the fire escape. He balances precariously on the rail, leaning forward to call down to the hero below. Do your best to catch up, Ingenium-san. Tensei should be ashamed that he's struggling to keep up with Midoriya. But he isn't. He's excited. There are few people in the world that can keep up with the speedster hero, and even less that can outrun him. Should he be grinning ear to ear while he's hunting for the hero killer? Yet he finds himself incapable of stopping. Midoriya glances down back at him, midway through a flip. Enjoying yourself, Ingenium-san? Tensei's wearing a helmet. That obvious? He replies, still smiling broadly. Midoriya lands on the tip of his toes, akin to a ballerina, and pushes himself back up into the air with unexpected strength. His butterfly-patterned haori that engulfs his arms flutters lightly in the gentle breeze. The kid nods his head, presumably humming in response as he continues his dead sprint. You're Ida-san's brother. Midoriya more so states than questions. Tenya? He accelerates. He's in your class? Only recently, Midoriya replies, an almost nostalgic look on his face. Were you planning to face the hero killer by yourself before I decided to join? Tensei hesitates, caught off guard by Midoriya's shift in tone. Not completely. I was going to split up dash. Split up? Against the hero killer? The hero killer, that's notorious for picking off heroes when they're alone. Midoriya slows down, slightly, but keeps his gaze ahead. Ingenium-san. Do you not value your life? Or at least, value your brother's? Tensei actually stumbles at the suddenness of the question. Of course I value my brother's life. Why would you ask that? But not your own? You didn't respond to my first question, Ingenium-san. He does value his own life. Tensei loves living, he wants to be there for Tenya and the people he saves. Why didn't he respond to Midoriya's question? He knows he wants to live, but if it meant taking down the hero killer. Ingenium-san, how would your little brother feel if you so carelessly threw around your life, for the sake of heroics? What do you think he'd do once he's informed that his dear Aniki, isn't that too old-fashioned for a kid? Died in search for the hero killer? Tensei frowns under his helmet. He'd be upset dash. Not just upset, Midoriya glances back down again, his eyes cold as steel, but the smile that hasn't left his face since they've met still present. Upset would be an understatement. You underestimate a sibling's love, and what did it do to someone in grief? Your little brother would be angry, vengeful, for the sake of his Aniki. He would let his anger consume him, let it lead his life until the path ends where yours would do if you chose to die. Revenge is the only thing he would know and think of until his craving is satiated. Until the hero killer is dead, or he is. Tenya wouldn't do that. He's a good kid. Wouldn't do all that for me. Tenya is a stickler to rules. Tensei can't even imagine him running in the halls, let alone committing murder for the sake of revenge. His little brother is sweet, kind, and is on his way to be an amazing hero. Tenya would be devastated if he died. He knows how much of a role model he is to his brother and that Tenya loves him, but he wouldn't dedicate his life to revenge him, he wouldn't throw away his chances of being a hero for him. People change when the ones they love die. Limits are pushed, then eventually broken. What they once would never have done, would be what they do. Ingenium-san, I'm telling you this for my classmates' sake. I'm here to protect the citizens, and to ensure the past is not repeated. I'm here so you don't die, Ingenium-san. To ensure the past is not repeated. Have you lost someone close to you? Tensei blurts out insensitively before he can stop himself. Midoriya lands a little less gracefully. Something along those lines. It was a long time ago. A sibling? My sister. I'm sorry. I can't imagine what it would be like to lose Tenya. As I said, it was a long time ago. I've made my peace since then. Did you avenge her? He doesn't dare to say. Is that why you're telling me this? When we find the hero killer, remember our conversation, Midoriya says like an order. You don't want to lose Tenya, remember that when you fight. Tensei nods resolutely. I will. Good. Midoriya leaps off the building ledge, his hand reaching for his belt. Because I've found him. He turns left, to the mouth of an alley. A red scarf billows in the wind, a masked face meets his own. The hero killer. A katana wielder. How convenient. How nice. He cheers behind their clashing blades. A fellow swordsman? You're a child, Stain snarls, jumping back to avoid a kick to his stomach. I don't target children, but if you interfere with my job, I won't have a choice. Is that what you call this? A job? Up close, he confirms the hero killer isn't a demon. As expected, he never believed he was one in the first place. Stain tries to ignore him, leaping over him and towards Ingenium. Izuku joins him in the air, but not quick enough to stop the 3 knives thrown towards the hero. He may be the fastest human he's faced in a while. Izuku blocks one hurtling knife with a swift swing of his katana and moves his blade in the next second, grazing the torso of the hero killer. Stain grunts, falling back to the ground. You missed. He tilts his head, eyeing the deep wound on his side. Did I? Any further in and you would be dead. You're not a hero, not a student either. Just because I had the decency not to kill, doesn't mean I'm not a hero. He holds his hilt to his face, his blade angling diagonally down. And you're wrong, I am a student. Midoriya Izuku to be exact, he got a first-year hero course. Midoriya Izuku, the hero killer repeats, his abnormally long tongue lolling as he pronounces his name. Is that your chosen hero name, child? Hero name? I don't have one. Then Midoriya it is. Stain mimics his stance, his own katana poised to point at Izuku. The weaker of the two of us will be called. Are you prepared to die, Midoriya? Izuku laughs, his smile turning sharp at the ridiculousness of the hero killer's question. You can try. It'll take a lot more than the likes of you to kill me. The villain crouches, coiled and ready to pounce. Cockiness isn't a trait of a hero, Stain spits out. Your death will contribute to the betterment of this corrupted society. The air beside him wavers, heating at the same time Stain shifts off his foot. The sound of engines revving reverberates down the damp alley, pulling Stain's focus off him and onto an injured Ingenium. Ingenium-san. Don't dash, blood drips onto his face as the speedster hero dashes past him, the engines in his shoulders firing blue instead of its usual orange. Izuku moves to intercept Stain's lunging body, swinging his blade to disarm the katana in the killer's hand. But the killer does something Izuku doesn't have time to predict. Instead of backing away to avoid Izuku's harsh kick into the villain's injured torso, Stain leans further inward, towards Ingenium's outstretched fist and licks the blood dripping down the hero's shoulder. Stain winces, his kick connecting as Ingenium collapses onto the ground. Izuku immediately positions himself between the two, poising his katana readily. Ingenium-san. I can't move. He replies, pained and panic. Midoriya, you need to go. Get back up. Don't tell me you've already forgotten our conversation, Ingenium-san. Your little brother needs you. I'm telling you to get help, Midoriya. Or we'll both die here. I'm not leaving. I told you, I'm here so you don't die. Stain is not a demon, he has to repeat to himself, staring at the killer, liking the remnants of Ingenium's blood off his lips. He is not a demon. An abnormally long tongue. Liking blood, digesting blood. Fallen, paralyzed, comrade. Your Quirk, Izuku addresses Stain, ignoring the hero's cries. Is blood paralysis, isn't it? A smart one, aren't you? Stain eyes him with newfound hunger. You're correct. An idiot could figure it out, he scoffs out, shifting his feet. You must have tasted quite a variety of blood with your experience. Izuku sprints forward, unable to take to the air lest Stain decides to target the vulnerable hero on the ground. He weaves through the knives thrown at him. Stain backs off deeper into ally, creating time to pull out the 2 spare katanas on his back. He has to end this quickly. There may be other effects of Stain's quirk that may endanger Ingenium, and he needs to stop the bleeding before Ingenium loses too much blood. Midoriya, the hero tries again, desperation clinging to his voice. Just a moment, Ingenium-san. Just wait another second. Tensei thinks that he's going to watch Midoriya fall, be paralyzed as easily as he had. He thinks he's going to watch a boy so painfully young die because he wasn't good enough. Eraser, you can't be serious. He's just a kid. He hasn't even done his first set of internships yet, and you want him to tag along while I'm hunting down the hero killer. If Tenya saw him now, he would be so disappointed in his Nii-san. Tensei, Shuta's eyes are unwavering. He's 100% serious with letting the kid in on the mission. I wouldn't be allowing this if I knew Midoriya couldn't handle it. Don't let his age cloud your judgment. Midoriya isn't like any other 15-year-old out there. He wants to move, to do something, but he doesn't do as much as twitch a finger, let alone fight. Tensei calls out to Midoriya again, praying that he would listen to him. But the kid doesn't budge, still positioned between his useless body and the hero killer. I'm sure the kid is plenty talented eraser, but this is the hero killer we're talking about. Whatever overpowered quirk the kid has dash. Vincent. Midoriya's quirkless. Stain pulls out another 2 katanas. This is it. He's going to watch Midoriya die. Shoyuta says it like it's the deciding factor, like the fact that the kid's quirkless should convince him. And it does waver him, because the kid would have to be strong to get into hero course quirkless. Eraser, it still isn't right. This isn't right. Midoriya was the one to defeat the villains at USJ. Single-handedly. He saved my life, my students' lives, Tensei. He saved your brother's life. Why did he waver? If he had only stood his ground, then he wouldn't have to be the one responsible for Midoriya's death. Just a moment, Ingeniums, and Midoriya replies, not a trace of concern in his voice. Only determination. Just wait another second. There's a sharp intake of breath. Insect breathing, dance of the centipede, 100-legged zigzag. Tensei doesn't even see Midoriya move. He only hears the sequential crack 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 of asphalt resounding through the alley from the sheer speed Midoriya travels and the hallucinations of butterflies trailing the kid's body. Compared to Midoriya, his reciproburst is slow. It takes 1/4 of a second for Midoriya to reach the end of the alley. Stain doesn't stand a chance. The blur of color extends, an arm, he assumes, reaches out and the squelch of metal passing through flesh and blood fills his ears. Tensei blinks, and Midoriya is now a foot away from the killer, his katana dripping fresh blood from the point to end. I bet, Midoriya says lowly, almost too quiet for Tensei to hear, that you wondered what the taste of my blood would be like. Midoriya stands before Stain, his stinger-shaped blade impaled through the villain's shoulder. I won't give you that privilege. But, the kid inclines his head where his sword meets flesh, think of this as a sample. Stain drops his katanas, the blades clattering against the ground. The villain tries to grab onto the piercing metal with shaking hands, but they're hit away by Midoriya's free hand. Dark veins spread up the hero killer's neck like a disease. Tensei nearly jolts out of his paralysis, suddenly hit by a strong smell of flowers. Poison, Stain grits out. You've poisoned me. Poison? Tensei screams inside his head. This wouldn't have happened if you had kept this between us, hero killer. Midoriya tuts, twisting his katana out the wound, the pointed end of his blade catching on the way out before it's forcefully yanked all the way through. Stain stumbles, spitting out a curse. If you only left the innocent out of this, then you wouldn't have to suffer. Are you not innocent, little hero? Stain taunts, though he's already assumed the answer. With Midoriya's back to him, he can't read the kid's face. He wishes he could. Am I? Midoriya's smile is heard through his voice. Who are we to decide that, Stain? Only gods can play gods. I really despise people like you, hero killer. People who can take lives without a second thought, monsters who think they can decide who should die, who should live based on their selfish thoughts and hunger. That hero over there, the one you tried to kill, is a respectable hero, one that hasn't done anything but protect and save the lives of innocents. Midoriya flicks his weapon rid of blood, sheathing it in one swift motion. Ingenium-san has a family to return to, he has a little brother waiting for him, and you dare to take his life. I do this for the betterment of this corrupted society. Stain spits, his killing aura swelling and suffocating the narrow alley. Even injured, Stain still succeeds to instill fear into him. Someone must be dyed in blood to correct our broken world. Only gods can play gods, hero killer, Midoriya venomously repeats. And you are nothing but a pathetic excuse for a mortal. But you should count yourself lucky. If you were anything less than human, then I'd do more than this. With a terrifying smile, Midoriya spins his body, delivering a series of harsh kicks too fast to see by the ordinary eye, prodding every wound on Stain's body. Each kick lands with a new splatter of blood that somehow avoids staining Midoriya's costume and a pained grunt from the villain. It's like watching a bully torturing a helpless victim. But Tensei knows better, Stain is anything but a victim. Finally, when Midoriya deems that Stain had paid his crimes in pain, he sends one last extended leg to the side of the killer's head, knocking him unconscious with a sickening crack. Before he's able to comment that maybe Midoriya may have been excessively rough, the kid rolls over the villain's body, pulling out a vial and pouring a questionable liquid into the gaping mouth of the hero killer. It's an antidote, Midoriya informs before he can ask. Has the paralysis worn off yet? Tensei tries to twitch a finger, letting out a small sigh of relief when his muscles respond. Give me another minute, I should be up and running by then. Midoriya takes out a roll of bandages from his haori, wrapping the worst of Stain's wounds deftly before securing him with a coil of rope conveniently found in the dumpster. It's like suddenly being plunged in cold water, seeing Midoriya stab, poison and brutally attack the hero killer in one moment and then bandaging his wounds and administering the antidote the next. The kid finishes dressing the injuries quickly and moves to Tensei with diligent strides. With surprisingly strong arms, Midoriya props him up against a wall, mindful of his own wounds, and pulls of the top half of his armored hero costume. He feels the paralysis wear off as Midoriya works, the numbness leaving his body bit by bit until he's fully recovered by the time Midoriya finishes. Thank you. Tensei pulls of his sweaty and slightly bloody helmet from his head so he can smile openly and freely communicate his gratitude to the boy who saved his life and taken down the hero killer. I'm sorry you had to protect me, I should have been more careful. Shame colors his voice. He's the speedster hero for God's sake, and he couldn't dodge a couple of knives and prevent himself from getting caught in Stain's quirk. In the end, he had to rely on a kid to take down the hero killer and save his butt. But he can't let his mistakes weigh him down, as all good heroes should be able to do. He will learn from them and ensure he'll never repeat his failures. Midoriya smiles kindly. Don't be sorry, Ingenium-san. In the end we both lived, so don't feel so down. Then keep my thanks. He inclines his head, bowing down his body. Because of you I can continue to my hero work and return to my family unharmed. A hand finds his shoulder, patting him gently to beckon him to straighten up. You're welcome. Though I wouldn't say completely unharmed, we still need to visit the hospital. A hospital? My injuries aren't that bad. Midoriya shoots him a stern look, and Tensei shuts his mouth immediately. We are going to a hospital, Ingenium-san. But Tenya he wants to watch his little brother's matches at the sports festival, if possible. The hero killer had been taken down frighteningly quickly by the hands of Midoriya, so he should have enough time to at least catch the last few rounds of the festival. Tensei told Tenya he couldn't attend the festival since he had patrol that day, but now that they've finished early, he has a chance to surprise his little brother. Midoriya studies him with a much softer version of his stern glare. After a moment the kid sighs and then nods. "We'll stop by Recovery Girl, then you can watch your brother in the festival." He holds back the urge to pump his fist into the air and cheer like an over-enthusiastic child. "Thank you." Tensei takes one step before he's stopped by an outstretched arm. "Ingenium-san, aren't you forgetting something?" "Huh." Midoriya tilts his head past his shoulder, to where the hero killer is still knocked unconscious. Tensei slaps a hand to his forehead. "They can't leave Stain in the middle of some dank alley. I'll call my sidekicks to handle him, then we can go?" "We can go as soon as they arrive," Midoriya confirms. His sidekicks arrive and Midoriya has to physically hold him down to stop him from activating his quirk and speeding to UA. Despite Tensei's protests, they call a cab. "Shudo!" Fuyumi greets from the kitchen, "Welcome home." He eyes the extra pair of sneakers by the door, slipping off his own. "Fuyumi-ne," Shudo acknowledges, "Natsuo is visiting?" Fuyumi unknots her apron, hanging it back up on the wall. "He's in his room right now, he'll be out soon." "Why is he here?" "To congratulate you," she says like it were obvious. It probably was. "Neither of us could come watch today, so we're having a dinner to make it up to you." The medal hangs heavy in his pocket. He'd taken it off his neck as soon as he was out of sight from the cameras. "I didn't win. Silver is nothing to celebrate. Second place is just the first loser." Fuyumi seems to think otherwise. "You did well, Shudo. I know father has expectations, but know that Natsuo and I are very proud of you." "Oh," he says in reply, not really knowing what the appropriate answer would be. "Thank you." "That's right? Do you want to change? We'll wait for you." "Yeah, I feel dirty. Sweaty and smoky too, courtesy of one Bakugo Katsuki." His sister lets out a small laugh. "I can tell," Fuyumi says, gesturing to his face. "You have soot on your cheek." He reaches up reflexively, but drops his hand before he smears the ash and makes it worse. "I'll wash it off in the bathroom." "Don't take too long. Natsuo only has so much patience when it comes to food," she warns. He nods, remembering the rare times where his brother would sneak him out for lunch and to come back from the bathroom to see half-eaten food. "I'll be quick," he says, walking off to his bedroom first to get a change of clothes. Shudo picks the first shirt and pants from his wardrobe, changing out of his gym uniform with efficiency and throwing on the clean clothes equally as fast. He scrubs the soot off his face with water and Fuyumi's cleanser, knowing she won't mind, and dries off with the towel hanging by the sink. Shudo also throws his medal under his bed. Out of sight, out of mind. By the time he's done and moderately refreshed, 10 minutes have passed and both his siblings are already sat at the dining table. "Shudo," Natsuo says, "my favorite brother." "I'm your only brother," he replies blandly, taking his own seat opposite Fuyumi. Natsuo waves a hand, chopsticks in the air. "Details," he grins. "Let's dig in." Shudo waits for both his siblings to take the first bite before taking a scoop of rice himself. Fuyumi prepared a variety of side dishes and meats. It must have taken her a long time. "So, little brother, how was the festival?" Natsuo asks, still chewing through his food. Fuyumi hits him for his bad manners. "It was fine. Just fine." He frowns. "Nothing I didn't expect happened." Endeavor was and is said, but bringing their father up at dinner is an instant mood killer. Even he knows that. Though, he pokes at a piece of broccoli, "I guess something did happen or didn't." Natsuo nods for him to go on. "I have a new classmate, he transferred before the festival." "Really?" Fuyumi pipes up. "I thought transfers usually happened after." "It does, normally. He was at the USJ. He must have been in Gen Ed or something, how'd he end up there?" "Support course," he corrects. "I didn't see it for myself, but I heard from my classmates that he took down the main villains." Natsuo taps his chopsticks on the edge of his bowl. "Wah, that's cool? Kinda impressive, I guess." A support course student saving the day and transferring to the hero course is like something that would happen in a book. Midoriya Izuku is something alike to a fictional character. He's interesting. That's a first, Natsuo says, shoveling a mouthful of greens. What's so interesting about him, lil, bro? What's his name? Fuyumi asks. Midoriya Izuku. He's not anyone I've met, but Shudo hasn't met many so. But he's familiar. I think. Fuyumi tilts her head. Familiar. He shrugs. I don't know, it might just be his face. I think it's his smell. Natsuo chokes and sputters bits of rice everywhere. Fuyumi smacks him on the back. Sorry, he apologizes, still red-faced. Nice? Wanna elaborate on that, Shudo? Like flowers, wisteria, his mind whispers. And he fights like one, if that makes sense. Midoriya sparred with another classmate of mine. He tends to drift in the air a lot, but he's really fast. Not flowers then, he would say he imitates a speed quirk? Isn't there another boy in your class with one too? He shakes his head. It's odd, most of his classmates thought the same as well. He's quirkless. Well sheet, Natsuo says. He dodges Fuyumi's scolding hand. This Midoriya kid is full of surprises, huh? He is, Shudo agrees. He intrigues me. I think about him a lot, he says, directing the statement maybe question at Fuyumi. Fuyumi starts slowly tasting the words, think about him a lot? How so, Shudo? I was hoping to face him at the festival, but he wasn't there. At all. Midoriya hadn't shown up until the finals, where he watched Shudo lose horribly. I don't know why. Shudo frowns as his mind draws complete blanks. It happens whenever he thinks of Midoriya, but I want to. I want to know more about Midoriya. Natsuo coughs deliberately. Do you want to be friends with Midoriya? Fuyumi asks kindly, like she's using her teacher's voice. Shudo shrugs unsurely. He wouldn't mind being friends with him per se, but Shudo isn't going to go out of his way to ask for friendship. If it means getting to know him, I guess, he tacks on. Then how about inviting him out? Like to the arcade, or the park, or just to get ice cream? That's a date, Fuyumi, Natsuo whispers loudly. Endeavor would hate that. If he went on a date. Ashido invited him to the mall. He informs his siblings, I could ask to join? Would that be considered rude? Fuyumi claps her hands excitedly. Natsuo smiles wide. Shudo, that's a wonderful idea. His sister exclaims. Okay, Shudo nods slowly, I'll do that then. He's never been shopping before with people his age. He thinks it'll be interesting. Intriguing with Midoriya there. The class, 1A girls accept Shudo's request, after a small convincing on Midoriya's part. Apparently it was supposed to a girls-only thing. They seemed confused at first to why he'd asked to join, but quickly became excited after an exchange of silent conversations between his female classmates. Shudo hadn't tried to decipher it. The mall is very large. And crowded, even at a time like now. Jairu lazily twirls her earphone jack with her finger. Couldn't we have rescheduled? She asks. Shudo briefly thought the same. It's a school night. We have school tomorrow, Hagakure. We can't reschedule twice. Hagakure huffs. Besides, tonight was the only time when we were all free. Night shopping is fun too. Ashido adds, plus we can just sleep in Mike-sensei's class, he won't mind. I'm sure he will if nearly half the class decides to take a nap, Jairu says. Her bubblegum pops. Aren't we receiving our internship offers tomorrow anyway? I heard it takes up the whole first PRD. If we're receiving our internships tomorrow, then it'll be too exciting for tired. Ashido says. Midoriya hums from where he stands beside Shudo. We'll all be home by 8 everyone, so don't worry about dozing off during class. Hagakure slumps. By the way her blouse folds down. 8 is so early. It's dangerous to be out so late, Midoriya reasons, and the shops close around the time too. The mall closes at 9. Then we'll have to make the most of our time. Ashido announces, grabbing Uraraka and Jairu by the elbows, first stop, athlete wear. I need new leggings. The three run off, leaving the rest of the group to split off into their own pairs or trios. Shudo finds himself alone with Midoriya. Convenient, Shudo wanted to speak with him alone anyway. But he waits before he does. Midoriya seems intent to actually shop. Midoriya, he finds out, is a very efficient shopper. It almost resembles the way he fights, funnily enough. His newest classmate is decisive in what he likes and what he doesn't, and doesn't have preference in gendered clothing. Evident in the woman's overcoat wrapped around Midoriya's body. Shudo follows him around, picking up a plain shirt or two that catches his eye. They don't talk, which is something not minded. The noise of the mall is enough for him. Midoriya leads him out the store, 3 bags in hand. Shudo notices as he walks behind Midoriya, the small irregularity of Midoriya's coat, the small bump by his hip. He watches the bump shift underneath the thick gray fabric with every step. Midoriya takes. It's a cold night. But it isn't why Midoriya wraps his coat so tight. Shudo isn't as surprised as he probably should be. It makes sense that Midoriya carries his blade everywhere, even while shopping. For some reason, Shudo doesn't comment on it, not until they stop by a small corner stall with handmade trinkets and hair accessories. The shopkeeper is elderly, and doesn't have very sharp hearing from what he sees. Is there not a reason you brought your katana with you today? Midoriya exhales softly, unbothered while still focused on the small pin in his hand. It loosely resembles the shape of waves. Blunt as ever, aren't you, Todoroki-san? Shudo nods. He was probably being blunt. Was it really so obvious? No, Shudo finds himself answering honestly, I just so happened to notice. Why do you carry a weapon? It's just for emergencies, Midoriya says simply, running a finger over the metal. I don't have a quirk, and so I take other precautions. But you wouldn't be able to use it if there were an emergency. Japan has strict weapon laws. Though bladed weapons are less monitored than firearms, they still are. And Midoriya would be able to hold off against an average villain long enough for help to arrive without a blade. Wouldn't I? He replies with a slightly unsettling smile. No, Shudo says carefully, now unsure of himself. Midoriya confuses Shudo. You wouldn't. He watches Midoriya hand off a handful of notes to the shopkeeper, exchanging it for the pin, and then refuses the excess money. Perhaps his new classmate is well off, or just overly considerate. The second most likely. Midoriya turns back to him, taking a step towards Shudo, his facial expression giving off none his thoughts. He is now really close to Shudo's face. A bit too close for his comfort. If it were anyone else, Shudo would have mistaken the act to be one of intimidation, but he doesn't think it's the case with Midoriya. Midoriya still smiles, his ever-steady breaths brushing the tip of his nose. You smell. Midoriya's smile widens, his nose scrunching. Are you saying I stink, Todoroki-san? Like flowers. You don't stink, he adds. No, Midoriya does not stink. Shudo stares the butterfly clip in Midoriya's hair, and at the slow blink of his eye, you weren't at the sports festival. Acutely observed. Why is that? Midoriya's head tilts to the right. Shudo won't lie, he feels slightly patronized. I was given the choice, as all support students are, to not participate in the festival. You're a hero student. I am. But I am also a support student. Shudo frowns. I don't think I believe you. Midoriya should have been at the sports festival. Think. No. Midoriya leans closer. Very close. Shudo has never been so close to someone before. His own breaths slow before he realizes he is. Do you know? Are you making fun of me? Making fun of is a bit harsh. Midoriya giggles. I think teasing is the right word. Why? Why? Midoriya parrots, knowing exactly what he means. Why what? You are confusing. Slightly frustrating. Very close to my face. A mystery, Midoriya. And I'm assuming that you're here for the reason to solve this mystery? Yes, Shudo admits unashamedly. Midoriya hums and doesn't give a reply, to his frustration. Suddenly, Midoriya is no longer in his personal space and instead steps ahead of him, his back now turned. Shudo hadn't seen him move. I haven't eaten yet, Midoriya says once Shudo catches up. The change of topic jars him. Are you hungry, Todoroki-san? No. Midoriya sighs, seeming to have expected his rude reply. It's petty, Shudo admits to himself, because he is hungry, just miffed that he didn't achieve any part's goal today. Midoriya doesn't take it to heart. Oh well, Midoriya pouts. You know, Todoroki's. I saw a great restaurant earlier, he lowers his voice to a whisper, and I heard that they make really amazing salmon daikon. Salmon daikon? A rare look of surprise passes Midoriya's face. You've never had it? Should I have? Midoriya grabs him by the arm. His grip is unexpectedly strong. We are going, he says firmly. You'll thank me later, Todoroki-san. It can't be any better than soba, but he lets himself be dragged anyway. He's curious, that's all. He does end up thanking Midoriya. Silently and in his head. Shudo's sure his face says it all though, judging by Midoriya's giggles. He's in such enrapture that he almost misses the quiet click of Midoriya's camera. Delete that, he says without looking up from his bowl, swallowing a mouthful of salmon and immediately going for another. Of course, Midoriya waves with a delicate hand, tapping away at his phone with the other, as you wish, Todoroki-san. His classmate takes a bite of his own meal, and taps on his screen for the last time. Midoriya's phone instantly blows up with notifications. Midoriya. What was that? Midoriya smiles innocently. I deleted the photo, just as you said. Why don't I believe you? Don't worry about it, Todoroki-san. How's the meal? Do you like it? Shudo narrows his eyes, but answers anyway, it's nice. It's the most delicious thing he's ever eaten. I like it. He takes another bite, to take his mind off Midoriya and his stupid smile. I've never been to this restaurant. It's new, Midoriya says. Shudo thought so. Everything certainly looks new and polished, but the restaurant still has a comforting homely feel to it. But already quite famous. Midoriya's face softens. I know the owner's family actually. Really? Midoriya swirls the straw in his drink as he quietly speaks. No, not really. Something more like my ancestors knew theirs. Oh. But that is boring talk. Midoriya sips from his straw, the odd expression passing quick. We should hurry, the girls are waiting for us. He nods slowly and takes another minute to finish his meal. Shudo looks at empty bowl a bit forlornly. Midoriya laughs. Visit another time, Todoroki-san, don't look so down. Okay. Midoriya secretly pays for both their meal before Shudo has a chance to protest. When did he even? I should have paid, he says, glaring, at least for my own meal. It's for your forgiveness. Midoriya winks, for later. Shudo asks what Midoriya means. He, predictably, does not get an answer. How frustrating. Midoriya leads him out the restaurant to meet up with the group. The girls are waiting by the fountain, each having at least 2 bags worth of purchases in their hands. Midoriya. Ashido greets with a wave, bounding up to them, Todoroki. Ashido, oh my, Midoriya's eyes widen at the multitude of bags Ashido carries. You've been busy. So have you. She squeals, bouncing up and down. I can't believe this. Ashido has her phone in her hand. And oh, Shudo isn't smiling in the picture, but he doesn't think that he's ever looked so unguarded while out in public with another person. Classmate no less. Shudo flickers his gaze to a slightly smug Midoriya, glaring mildly. You told me you deleted it. The corners of Midoriya's lip curl. His mystery classmate pats him lightly on his chest. Shudo almost reels back at the unexpected contact. I apologize, Todoroki-san, but it was an opportunity not to be missed. Does he forgive Midoriya? Shudo is kind of annoyed, but he's not mad. He doesn't care enough to be mad. Ashido hooks her elbow with Midoriya's. Let's go for dessert. It's getting late, Midoriya says with a small frown, going unnoticed by everyone but Shudo. It is getting late, to his and Midoriya's standards apparently. Normally Shudo would be never been allowed out so late, per his father's rules, but his father isn't in Musastafu tonight, nor for the next 2 days. A slide of rare luck on Shudo's part. If his father was home for the days after his failure at the sports festival. Well, He definitely wouldn't be shopping. Does Midoriya have strict parents too? Is that why he subtly insists to get home? It's only 8 and a bit. Midoriya. We'll grab some shaved ice, then Ashido cuts herself off, nearly tripping on her feet as Midoriya abruptly digs his feet into the floor. The action stops the whole group. Midoriya? Midoriya shakes his head minutely, pasting on a smile in place of the sour look that had briefly passed his face. I just remembered something. I promised my mum that I'd be home by 8:30. I have to go. He twists out of Ashido's hold, shuffling back a few steps. I'm sorry, we can go for shaved ice next time? Are you sure, Midoriya? Ashido asks uncertainly, her eyebrows furrowing. It's dark, even for a guy. It's still unsafe to walk home alone. I'll be fine, thank you, Midoriya insists, a touch too hurried for nothing to be wrong. I'll see you guys at school tomorrow, okay? Stay safe and make sure to go home in pairs, including you, Tom Todoroki-san. Ashido catches Midoriya's wrist. His smile falters. Midoriya tries to gently tug out of Ashido's grip, but the girl holds firm. We can escort you. At least to the train station? I wouldn't want to ruin your fun, Midoriya says with forced patience, placing his free hand over Ashido's. I'll keep safe, I promise. He pulls out of Ashido's hold with a smooth tug, patting the girl reassuringly on her arm. Take pictures of the shaved ice for me. She looks unsure, but Midoriya, to them, is too nice to lie to their faces, even with something so simple as needing to get home early. They trust Midoriya to stay safe, alone, if it comes to it. Ashido is unsure, but that's all it is, unsureness. They can't keep Midoriya against his will, or follow him all the way home. Shudo knows Midoriya is lying. Somewhat. Midoriya is purposely hiding information from them. But again, Shudo can't do much about it. Neither can Ashido or the girls. Ashido clenches her fists by her sides, stopping herself from reaching back out again. We'll reschedule on that, she promises, so we can all eat together. Sounds perfect, Midoriya replies with his body half-turned. I had a great time tonight, but I have to be on my way now. Ashido nods hesitantly, replying slowly, We'll see you tomorrow then. Midoriya gives a reassuring grin, returning Ashido's nod and passing his eyes over each and everyone's face. I'm already late, so, he pauses to lightly purse his lips. Don't be startled? Confusion ripples before Midoriya makes sense of his words and vanishes straight on the spot, startling the class despite the boy's warning. Nothing remains of the fact that Midoriya was standing before them a short moment ago, besides the barely their scent of perfume. Shudo is no better than his classmates. He is just as taken aback. But he does recover faster. Turning away, Shudo quietly informs his classmates he'll be taking leave too. There isn't a point in staying with Midoriya gone. He leaves, alone, remembering how Midoriya instructed everyone including Shudo to stay in pairs. He'll be fine, he has hero training and a powerful quirk to defend himself. His icy breath mists the air, cold, but not because of his quirk. Shudo doesn't feel cold, but he shrugs on a loose jacket over top his body anyway. Wrapping himself tight with the cotton fabric, his knuckles brush over a small bump, right atop his chest. Right where Midoriya had unexpectedly pat him. His jacket unfolds again, and as Shudo sees what Midoriya left behind, his mind draws another blank, where he knows he is missing something that explains the nonsensical feeling that tingles and flutters in his chest. Shudo isn't using his quirk, but for reasons that are whited out in his head, he feels inexplicably warm. The type that Shudo imagines what people mean when they describe fire as warm. It's the pin that Midoriya bought, secured neatly on the fabric of his shirt, and Shudo hadn't noticed when Midoriya done it. But Midoriya works fast, he knows. He is impressed still once again. Looks at it closer now, the pin only vaguely resembles water. It's blue, but not alike to the bright blue of his eye. The color is darker though not at all dull, and it's a pattern of swirls and loose spirals. To his eye, he only sees the picture of waves, but he feels if he were to ask anyone else they wouldn't see the same. Why had Midoriya given him such a gift? They aren't friends, and they'd only been acquainted with each other for a week. Is it another way for apologizing? Shudo doesn't think so. He thinks they both know he wasn't really offended by that photo. Midoriya had already paid for their meals. There were a wide range of pictures and patterns Midoriya could have picked for his gifted pin, but he had picked this one, the one with waves. Midoriya smiled when he had pat his chest and secretly stuck the pin on his shirt. Midoriya always smiles, but they all have their own meanings. Why Midoriya had picked this pin, and why he had given it to Shudo, those answers are lost to him as anything else is when it comes to Midoriya. In the end, his outing in search for reasons only left Shudo with more to think. Tomorrow will be school, and Midoriya will be there as he said to Ishido, completely fine. Maybe, if Shudo is feeling strangely adventurous, he'll start up a conversation with him to find out what Midoriya is really doing right now. Midoriya could be rushing back home to make it before his curfew, but Shudo remembers the boy's sour face, the suddenness of the excuse of it's late and the barely noticeable aversion of shopping during the night. Shudo doesn't think Midoriya is going home. Before stepping foot into his estate's door, he unclasps Midoriya's pin from his shirt, holding it in his hand until he finds a place by the lamp on his desk for it. In the morning Shudo'll pin it on the collar of his school uniform. Midoriya's gift is only the size of his thumb, it's discreet enough in Shudo's taste. The pin is a gift given. It'll be rude if he didn't wear it. With distance separating Izuku and his new classmates, he runs and jumps onto one wall of an isolated alley before leaping to the wall adjacent. He bounces between the two, swiftly making it to the roof overlooking the open and still busy mall. Cursing under his breath, he sprints along the skyline, leaving his night's worth of shopping behind as he unties his overcoat, throwing it to the wind and letting it join his other abandoned clothes. If all goes well, Izuku will be fine to retrieve them. Running without the extra drag of his coat enables his speed further. The coat was necessary to hide his uniform, but he's glad to be free of it now. It would be paranoia, wearing his Demon Slayer uniform and Nichiren blade during a girl's night out, but it isn't since the monsters are really out to get him. At least the demon has enough courtesy to lead him away from the crowd. How nice of them. Izuku is annoyed still. He would have preferred shaved ice to chasing a demon even if said demon is courteous enough to try to kill him out of civilian sight. The bustle of late-night shoppers fade as he travels further and further. The demon is running too. He's being led away. To an isolated location, to perhaps a villain or another demon, or to a hideout. Maybe all three. It could get dangerous if Izuku is being led more enemies. He doesn't know anything on the demon, or demons, he may face. Injuries are a possibility tonight. What a nuisance, Izuku has school tomorrow. He exhales sharply, leaping across another gap between buildings, remembering his classmates' concern for him. If he does get injured, then he'll just have to dress his wounds properly in the support lab tomorrow morning, where all his medical supplies are kept. As long as he doesn't get serious head injuries or die, he'll be fine. Izuku considers calling one of the Uda teachers, but he left his phone in his coat pocket. No backup. Maybe Kasugai crows are more reliable than the modern phone. Crows don't get left behind in coat pockets. But he'll be fine, he's a Hashira, and Hashira rarely need backup. The demon starts to slow, Izuku doesn't. Its presence is neither overwhelming or weak, but Izuku doesn't let his guard down. The demon could very well be dampening its presence on purpose. He scans his surroundings. The streets are empty, aside from the odd late worker trudging back home. It's quiet, and very few windows emit light. Izuku keeps his steps silent and light as always, eyeing the street signs. He's in downtown Musastafu, but the poorer parts of. Izuku stops at a deserted park. He's glad to see no children running around at this time. Only a lonely flickering lamppost keeps Izuku from being left in the complete dark. The demon is behind a tree, hiding, even though it probably knows Izuku is aware of its presence. They don't seem intent to kill him immediately, but Izuku still senses hostility. A waiting game? Favorable. More time to talk. More time for questions. If it does end in a fight, which is very likely, Izuku has 2 full vials of wisteria poison on his body, none of his strongest kind, but more potent than the mild brew he uses on the average demon. He doesn't reach for his blade yet, but that could change in less than a moment. He'd been spied on, and he wants answers. Clearing his throat, he curls his lips into a honeyed smile, projecting his voice to the thick-trunked tree closest to the playground set. He speaks sweetly. A courteous demon should appreciate manners. Though he's found they always try killing him no matter what. Have we met? Answers. He wants them. I'm afraid we have not, the demon replies smoothly. A male. Then if not an old acquaintance, what other reasons are there for following me on a night like this? No one outside of the U.A teachers know that he is a demon slayer, and no one outside of them and Class 1A know of his involvement of the USJ. He's been hiding his uniform and blade until now. The demon has been following him before then. Every villain at the USJ was captured, every demon was killed. If not an old acquaintance, or in other words, an incarnated demon from the Taisho era who'd be able to perhaps recognize his presence, then this demon should not have known to single Izuku out specifically as either a demon slayer or someone worth killing. Aside from a small circle, he is only Midoriya Izuku, got a first year in the support course. He hadn't even participated in the sports festival. There's someone terribly important interested in you. The demon hums, low and deep, and another dangerous. Is it safe to assume that these individuals are your master and you? Oh, the demon chuckles, like metal chimes cling-clanging. I wouldn't say safe. What is your name? Izuku steals his voice all while keeping it pleasant. Who is your master? What is yours? Midoriya Izuku, as you must already know. You'd had a first year of the hero course. He gets an airy laugh in reply. Normal people don't reveal information to their enemies so easily. Then again, normal people don't kill their enemies before they have a chance to spread such information. Who is your master demon? Midoriya Izuku. The demon tastes his name slowly. Izuku holds back a shiver. My name is Kinhon. Kinhon, the meaning of gold and bone, such a beautiful name. He easily lies. Clasping his hands in an innocent gesture, he gives one of most fakest, brightest smile he can muster. Would it be rude of me to ask for your cooperation? Not rude, Kinhon drawls. Crunch. The demon steps out from hiding. Light flickers overhead. But perhaps stupid. Long black hair billows in the still-aired night. The demon is shirtless and pale as a corpse. If it weren't for its piercing gaze, Izuku would have thought Kinhon was blind. His eyes are white, no pupil in such dim light. In line with the demon's name, his hakama pants are white stitched intricately with gold. Even the modern-day demon dress traditionally. Perhaps. But it would be nice if we got along. He sighs softly. I'd hate to fight on a night so peaceful. Don't you know, the demon matches his smile, I could kill you. Izuku tilts his head softly, brushing off the death threat like mundane pleasantry. You could do anything, Kinhon. You could cooperate. We could be acquaintances, get along, and then live as friends. Doesn't that sound nice? Kinhon replies with a drawn-out hum. I wasn't wrong, you are an interesting boy. Friends, how refreshing. The demon squats with his knees close together, placing his head on a closed fist. Tell me more, Izuku. The side of his neck is exposed. He could kill Kinhon right now. He doesn't. He needs answers. Or even only one. As future acquaintances, it'd be terrible if we started off a bad note. Kinhon, are you not angry? I'll tell you I've killed 2 of your kind. Kurogyri and that little mistake. Sensei was displeased with Kurogyri's death. His demon arts was a favorite of Sensei's. The demon idly taps on his knee with his free hand, but I can't say I really care for their deaths. It's their fault they died so easy. Sensei is not Kibutsuji Musen, he knows. He's had twice the confirmation. He'd needed to ask again, just in case. But this sensei has created 3 demons thus far. If sensei is capable of 3, they are capable of more. But your sensei does care, they found interest in me. He wants to know more of the little butterfly who'd killed his beasts. The demon's posture becomes lazy, he sighs. Izuku, you're not what I'd expected. And what did you expect? Not an actual little butterfly. Kinhon squints, like he's narrowing his invisible pupils. You appear weak, but I've heard just how hard butterflies can beat their wings. There's curiosity lying in the demon's voice. Curiosity on just how hard he can beat his wings. With one trigger, Izuku could evolve their conversation into a fight. But with Kinhon, Izuku doesn't think tonight will grant him answers. Just as Kibutsuji's demons, Sensei's demons are as tight-lipped about their master. If not words, then it is blood. He needs material to study. The blood of a demon can wield better information than their mouths. And with his mother worrying at home, Izuku doesn't bother further talk. Decisively, he draws his blade. The demon doesn't move even as he tracks his stinger's arc. What happened to friends? I've realized how impossible it is. You've killed many. Interesting. Can you really tell? 87. He spins his katana with his left, cutting through the air sharply. You've killed 87 people. I wouldn't know, I never keep track. The demon lifts himself slowly, though it sounds accurate enough. If you surrender yourself, I promise to kill you with my gentlest toxin, Izuku says, the offer falling flat. Never once has a demon agreed to his terms. I've heard you can't behead demons. Kinhon rakes his gaze down his body. Poison may have worked on Kurogiri, but you'll find I'm different than him. Izuku twists his smile. You mustn't think you're safe. Your comrades thought the same thing, you know. My methods may be different, but it's still all the same. He giggles softly, letting his stinger stop with its pointed end level with the demon's neck. You will be dead in the end. Big words for a little boy. And for the irritating comment, he attacks, closing the distance, and rearing back his blade. His speed stuns the demon, eyes widening, and just about leaning away, his body tilted and bent. Breaths steadily leave his parted lips. Dance of the dragonfly, compound eye hexagon. He targets all vital organs, injecting a dose with every move. His blade coats with blood, as the thick scent of wisteria permeates the air. On the last move aimed at the eye, Izuku pushes the demon away with a snap kick. Kinhon remains standing, harmed and bloodied, but signs that he is not near dead. 6 doses of wisteria poison hadn't been enough. As Izuku reaches for the most potent of his 2 vials, dousing it across his stinger, the demon is breaking down the toxins circulating in his blood. It were a mild poison, the one just broken down. Izuku doesn't stress. Kinhon is stronger than the average demon, but he can handle this. He can. Kinhon rolls his neck, joints cracking too loud to be humane. Another crack reverberates, and 4 winding tendrils of bone sprout from the demon's back. They twist, clicking with every move. The ends of each bone shed, revealing sharpened ends poised threateningly. Kinhon's true presence slams into Izuku at once, heavy and like a boulder. He realizes with creeping dread that he does not have the means to kill this demon. The best of his poisons lay in a drawer at Ua, locked away the support lab, locked behind a gate closed until dawn. It is 9 in the night, 6 hours till sunrise. His choices are limited to hold Kinhon for those 6 hours, or to bet on one strike. Izuku has decided already that the demon will die, so he will. The means don't matter because he just has to, because he refuses to die so soon again. His katana is floods with his last vial of wisteria poison. Weaken the demon. Strike the heart. Inject enough wisteria poison to kill 30 average demons. Kinhon will die. Izuku will make it so. All 4 tendrils shoot out simultaneously, changing direction and path quicker than the lamppost flashing above. He is faster. Izuku takes to the air, his blade left unused as he contorts his body around each length of bone. The fabric of his hori keeps him airborne and hides most movement of his limbs. He takes a hold of one, pulling himself in towards the demon, reading his katana. Blood spurts from the demon's neck, the wound only just deep enough to sever the artery, but shallow enough that no poison is wasted in the attack. I thought you couldn't behead demons. I've never tried. Izuku doesn't move in time. A bone pierces straight through his thigh as he attempts to push his body back up into the air, hauling him back towards the demon's claws. His blade is not designed for cutting, it's modeled specifically for his breathing style, and rarely does he cut through things. He can't cut through the bone. Izuku is being pulled in, but he leaves the bone stuck in his leg to be, because he can't do much else, letting himself get closer to the demon. Kicking is no good, and he needs to save every last drop of poison left on his blade. Good. This feels barbaric. But his arms have muscle that he did not have as Shinobu, And he doesn't have any better choice. The demon's neck should still be weak. He should be weaker in general from breaking down his poison. He levels his fist. Insect breathing, dance of the bee sting, true flutter. And punches through flesh, leaving a gaping hole on the left of Kinhone's neck and painting his arm in viscous blood. The demon chokes out a cry, his vocal cords destroyed, and flings Izuku by the leg. The bone rips out his thigh with an audible squelch as his back slams into the bar of the swing set, denting the metal. He stands quickly, compelling himself to recover before the enemy does. His ribs are bruised, not broken. It's his leg that pains him. Insect breathing relies heavily on his speed, his legs. Izuku makes up for his lack of strength for speed. He forces a breath, calms himself, clots the blood around the wound and rips the bottom off his pants to tie around his thigh. He still has one perfectly fine leg and 2 able arms. The situation is far from the worst. 2 or 3 more attacks with same level of damage, and then Izuku will go in for the final strike. His plans rarely fail. Kinhone will die. The demon weaves his skin and flesh together, the rate of regeneration slowed but not slow. Kinhone laughs gratingly, and like a man high off his butt, surprising, they said you fought like a falling petal, but you're really a savage. The likes of you have no right to call me a savage. You punched a hole through my body. And you've eaten nearly 100 humans. The demon smiles, transfiguring his arms into blades of bone, and the 4 tendrils shoot back out, following Kinhone as he flies towards Izuku at blurring speeds. The distance is closed for him. His opponent is unknowingly helping Izuku. How dumb. Izuku stays glued to his spot right till the moment the blade of bone is swung, jumping to the air and watching the demon cleave through a swing set instead of his torso. He lands on the unstable metal bar before pushing off his good leg to flip over Kinhone, twisting midair to deliver a spinning kick to his cranium. The knife hidden in the heel of his soul shoots out the last second, stabbing directly into the demon's skull and brain. The blade sticks, stalling Izuku for a vulnerable moment. Bones click, his blade snaps off from his heel. He turns and urgently pushes himself off the demon's head. 2 of the 4 length of bones converge into 1. He's still in the air, too low to fly back up, too high to try to push himself off the ground. Instincts take over, and compels Izuku to do it now. Dance of the bee sting, true flutter. He throws his Nichiren stinger, hating himself for ridding his weapon as it cuts through the air, flying faster than the demon's blood art. He has no idea whether Kinhone is weakened enough or not. He is gambling with his life, but if not this, then he is guaranteed to die. True to his instinct, the demon flinches enough for the tendril of bone to puncture his shoulder instead of his heart. Kinhone isn't as lucky. Enough wisteria poison to kill 30 demons injects directly into Kinhone's heart. His Nichiren stinger protrudes from his chest like a stick in mud. He doesn't know if it's enough to kill Kinhone. The demon could recover and Izuku would be left with exactly 0 milligrams of wisteria poison to fend himself. But the poison still takes effect, blood spills from the demon's eyes and mouth, the flesh around his wound melting around his blade. His skin smokes and mottles purple. The stench alone is enough that he can't smell wisteria anymore. The bone in his shoulder turns to ash and Kinhone's arms transfigure back. Izuku clamps down on his wound, stopping the bleeding with his hand and breathes. The pain is distant. He can only watch as the demon choke on his own blood and attempt to pull his blade out of his chest. The katana stays stubborn. "S-sensei," the demon gasps, collapsing to his knees. "Sensei. S-sensei, help me. Sensei." Izuku holds his body straight, approaching the fallen demon with forced steady steps. His leg threatens to give. He squeezes Kinhone's shoulder with one hand, digging his nails into skin as he reaches out with his other, finding the hilt of his katana and pulls the blade out till only the stinger remains inside before driving it back in deeper. "To kill you faster," he whispers into Kinhone's ear, "I'd hate it if you suffer." "I'll kill you. I'll tell Sensei, I'll tell him and he'll kill you." Izuku retrieves his blade. He may not die immediately, but if Izuku persists in his attacks, continuing to weaken Kinhone, the demon will eventually run out of energy to keep regenerating. If he's unlucky, he might have to stay till dawn. He pushes his good leg back, balancing the edge of his katana between the dip between his index finger and thumb and leveling the point of the stinger. His lips breathe the familiar words of his third form. His shoulder trembles lightly with the weight of his weapon and his leg throbs, a constant. Sensei, the demon cries again, desperate like a child begging for its mother. Sensei. Blood pours. Hell dash. Kinhone cuts himself off, so abrupt that Izuku halts too. Kinhone's pale pupils gloss with unshed tears, his mouth left agape. A strangled noise leaves the demon's throat. He expects blood. It isn't. Thick, tar-like sludge begins spills, cascading from the demon's lips. It crawls across ruined flesh and skin, moving like something alive, a viscous liquid, not a drop falling to the floor. Kinhone is consumed. Where once was a demon, is a body of black. The hole left in Kinhone's chest remains uncovered. The sludge ripples once. Open heart. Izuku breathes a stuttering sigh of relief when the ringing finally stops. He leans heavily into the door behind him, pressing his coat harder against his stomach. He's already stopping the blood flow with his breathing, but the wound is wide. Breathing cannot fix everything. Midoriya. I assume there's a good reason to why. Can you pick me up? His phone nearly slips from his bloodied hand when his shuffling shifts the bone piercing his stomach. The adrenaline has left him long ago, the pain has caught up. Or any of the U.A staff will do. Just whoever can get my location the quickest. Are you injured? Quite, he bites out, shivering. Aizawa curses over the phone. The cold doesn't pair well with blood loss. Please hurry. I'm patrolling Kamino District right now. Present Mike is closest. Are you still at the pinned location? I am. Stay there. I'm sending the location to Mike now. Izuku blinks hard. Blood loss. Not good. How long? 12 minutes. How bad is it? 4 puncture wounds. Both shoulders, my thigh and stomach. He blinks again. None of my major arteries were hit. Thigh is close though. I'm stopping most of the blood flow, so I've got time. He's only relaying the worst of it, because there's no need to waste precious breath. What are bruised ribs compared to the bones sticking out of his body? Hang in there, Midoriya. There's rustling of fabric from the hero's side followed by a grunt and the distinct sound of a fist hitting flesh. Mick's on his way. Oh God, are you fighting while on call? Told you I'm on patrol, kid. You shouldn't be on your phone while handling villains, Eraserhead. I'm talking through an earpiece. Are you still bleeding? And not terribly, he winces, even to his own ears it sounds like a lie. I'm just cold. It won't be too much longer. Recovery girl is on her way to you. Too. Thank you. I'd prefer to keep this from my mom. Does she not know? That I fight demons in my spare time? And no. Aizawa hums, purposely calm. He appreciated, even if Izuku isn't really distressed. Heroes do deal with these type of things often, perhaps nearly as much as a demon slayer. My shift ends in 3 hours, but I'll call in for a replacement soon. Okay, how much longer? 2 minutes. That's fast. Mick's running red lights. I'm on a roof, do I need to? No. Stay there. Mike can get up there himself. I'll need to get down anyway. He'll figure something out. Izuku nods, forgetting that Aizawa can't see him. The arm holding up his phone drops to his side. His right shoulder took a bad hit from the demon's parting gift, matching it with his left. He hasn't been injured since his fight with the Upper Moon too. After his promotion to Hashira, he was near untouchable. This cushiony life has made him soft. Izuku sighs through his mouth. Soft isn't a bad thing, but if there's more demons like Kinhone, then he needs to start preparing for the worst-case scenarios. But that is for later. He's bleeding out on a rooftop. Midoriya? Are you still there? Still alive. Mick's here. I'll hang up then. I'll meet you at you. Aizawa hangs up for him. There's a knock from the door he's leaning on. Midoriya? Present Mike calls, his voice muffled but audibly worried. I can't open the door from the inside. Can you dash? Give me a moment. Izuku bites back groan as he blindly reaches for the door handle, his bloodied fingers slipping off the smooth metal before he's able to clumsily twist and push the door out. Present Mike catches him, stopping Izuku from falling back and gently, but firmly, holds him down when he tries to stand for himself. Whoa there, listener, steady. Those are some bad injuries you have. His eyes flicker over his body, assessing his state. Present Mike settles his face on a reassuring smile. How about sheathing your blade so I can carry you out of here? It'll be hypocritical of him to refuse help while injured. He'd always telling his patients there's no point in trying to be tough when the fight is over. Izuku sheathes his blade with a wince, letting himself be picked up into a bridal carry. Present Mike moves with practiced movements, keeping the shuffling minimal so none of his wounds are worsened. It's appreciated. Hey, those bags don't happen to be yours, do they? Izuku closes his eyes despite that it tempts him to sleep even more. They're mine. I'll leave it. You sure, listener? Chin, it's fine. He'll be back, for that nice blouse he bought and for the traces of blood Kinhone left behind. Present Mike nods in reply, kicking the door back open with his foot. Remnants of blood from when he dragged himself up the staircase remain in smeared handprints across the handrails and in faint red footprints. Izuku wonders which poor soul will have to clean it. Without the Kakushi, it may just be a civilian janitor. Oh dear. Present Mike is a terrible driver. That, or he's in a hurry to get Izuku medical attention. He assures the hero that he won't be dying anytime soon. His paling skin may say otherwise, but Present Mike mostly ignores his statement and gives a stressed smile in reply. God, he needs to start carrying him med kit everywhere he goes. Next time he might not get as lucky to have someone pick him up. A single roll of bandages isn't really effective when there are holes in his body. Would the Udata staff question him if he'd start bringing surgical staples along with his missions? The life of a demon slayer is ugly, and they are already reluctant to let Izuku, only a child in their eyes, to partake in this. Times are different. They arrive at UA. The demon's bone shuffles ever so slightly with every step Present Mike takes. To Izuku it feels like a hot knife twisting its way in his guts. He keeps his breathing steady, counting them instead of focusing on the pain. Recovery Girls is there when they breach the infirmary door. He's lain in bed hurriedly. The coat covering the worst of his wounds is taken off his hands. There is a bone sticking out his shoulder and stomach. No, they are not his, he says. Still, the two heroes worry. And 4 slots in each arm, 1 for blood, 1 for pain. Izuku keeps himself awake, even as Recovery Girl removes the bone from his body and stitches his body together thread by thread. After half an hour passes, he realizes dawn will come before he is ready to move again. Present Mike, he calls politely, no longer as cold and pained, can I ask for a favor? The hero blinks at him. He thought he were unconscious. Sure. Whatever you need, Midoriya. There's a small park around 5 kilometers south from the building you found me, where there should be enough blood of the demon I fought to collect. At MI station in the support lab, there's a wooden box with 2 syringe needles. I need anyone trustworthy to use those to draw a sample of the blood before the sun rises. To his credit, Present Mike doesn't question it outside of, for study? To study. Izuku gives a small smile. Please get it done before dawn. The blood will burn with the sun. Got it. The hero throws up 2 thumbs. That all? He nods, giving a thanks. Eraser should arrive soon, so he'll keep an eye on you while I'm off collecting demon blood. The blood should be slightly darker than mine, and if you're still unsure, just give it a small sniff. It'll smell different from human blood. Izuku huffs at the hero's slightly perturbed face. He gives another thanks, for both the favor and driving his bloodied body all the way to UA at a late hour. Hopefully Present Mike doesn't have a sensitive nose. Demons are foul. Recovery Girl pats him lightly on his calf, calling for his attention. I'll be using my quirk on you now, dearie, if you're finished talking. You'll probably pass out shortly after. Is that okay with you? Just wake me up at 6, or if something comes up. Recovery Girl gives him a smile he recognizes. Izuku uses the same on stubborn patience. I'll do that, she replies, gently lifting his hand. Izuku gives his nod of consent and Recovery Girl pecks him on the back of his hand, activating her quirk with a green glow. He doesn't fight the exhaustion, closing his eyes to the bright lights of the infirmary and falling into unconscious quickly. Izuku dreams of a forest brimmed with wisteria, multicolored eyes and bitterness sliding down his throat. Izuku comes to consciousness as dawn breaks and exactly 2 hours before Recovery Girl was told to wake him. His body is sore with wounds like they were given a month to heal. There's no real pain, even though he was bleeding out on a rooftop only last night. It's strange, injuries like his normally take months to heal, and then another fortnight to stretch out his limbs and rebuild stamina. But he's sore, that's it, and it'd happen overnight. Present Mike and Aizawa converse quietly behind the curtain drawn around his cot. He senses Recovery Girl's presence somewhere in the infirmary too. His uniform is unbuttoned all the way down, exposing clean bandages wrapped around his torso, and the 4 has been removed from his arm. Izuku buttons up his top quickly and quietly. He's a boy now, but admittedly, sometimes he still panics for a short moment when he pulls on a t-shirt and sees his chest completely flat. He tries not to eavesdrop on the 2 heroes, but he catches a few words anyway. It's nothing interesting from what he picks up. Teacher talk. Marking essays. Before either heroes realizes that their conversation isn't so private, Izuku sighs purposely, drawing open the white curtains separating them. Good morning, he smiles, without any wear or hint of exhaustion. They aren't as startled given that he gave a brief warning. He should be exhausted, or at least tired, judging by present Mick's obvious expression and Aizawa's better controlled one. You should be resting, Aizawa says, displeased. The hero checks the time. And it's hardly morning. If the sun has risen, then it's a good morning. Izuku flickers his gaze to window, in my opinion at least. Aizawa follows his line of sight, something like realization dawning on his face. How are you feeling? I'm physically fine. And otherwise? I'm not sure. He reaches behind his head, untangling his clip from green locks of hair, and straightens out the butterfly's wings. He traces the colored lines, aware of the 2 heroes' eyes looking down on him. The demon I fought escaped. Aizawa grunts, you were caught unaware. If you're blaming yourself for things out of your control dash. I'm not blaming anyone. If he blamed himself for every death and every mistake made, he'd drown in guilt. Just stating the facts, Aizawa-san. Aizawa-sensei, he corrects. Yet the fact the demon escaped still troubles you. Of course, it would be dumb if it didn't, Izuku says indifferently. It's fact that the man behind all of it is now capable of creating demons that are competent. Unlike the USJ demon, the one who I just fought is close to the demons I'd encountered back then. Aizawa-sensei, present Mike, the demon that had escaped could level a city within a night's work if he'd so choose. I was unprepared, yes, but the demon still escaped. You are blaming yourself, Aizawa says. I am not, he says with the same flat tone. These are facts, Aizawa-sensei. If this man has the resources to make a demon capable of leveling a city, why hadn't he, present Mike gestures with his hands, done so? Or sent the better of the 2 demons to ye? We have no way of knowing for sure, of course, but at the time of the USJ the League, a ridiculous name, honestly, had logically assumed that there was no way anyone in Class A, the 2 supervising teachers, and All Might had the ability to slay a demon. It would be a waste to send more than needed. A poor use of resources, you could say. Demons most of the time try not to draw too much attention to themselves. Back then, a suitable slayer would be sent on a mission to kill said demon by headquarters. In cases of a large massacre or disappearances, a Hashira would be sent. I believe that Kinhon, the demon, was sent to gauge my capabilities and to gather other such information. I don't think the League will make move to outright kill 1,000 citizens so soon, but what is troubling is that they are able to. And troubling that a League's demon was able to single you out, Aizawa says dourly, or they at least knew that one person out your group was the same person who'd kill the USJ demon. No, they knew it was me, specifically. The 2 heroes exchange a significant look. Izuku stifles a sigh. He'd expected as much. There's a traitor amongst us, isn't there? It was discussed during the meeting after you left, present Mike says. We suspect it's, his expression sours, one of class, one it. We've considered the Class B kids, but it's unlikely that the details from the USJ leaked to their class. He does sigh this time. You could have told me this earlier. I understand the reluctance to tell a student that one of their classmates could be a traitor, but I've dealt with such things before. There's been no outright traitor, the kind with infiltration and spying, but there has been cases where a slayer would turn a demon. I can keep a secret, Izuku says with a sure smile. We do trust you, Aizawa affirms, but you're right in that we were reluctant to inform you the possibility of a traitor when you're barely getting to know Class A. Izuku accepts the excuse. If you hadn't already, I'd eliminated the teachers from the list of suspects. The League knows nothing of my past. It'd be unwise to suspect one another anyway. Distrust amongst comrades is deadly as exposing their necks bare to the League. Aizawa tells him so in similar words. Izuku recites Kinhon's appearances and abilities. Once you see him, Izuku says, balancing the precarious line between casual and absolutely serious, he's probably already decided to kill you. The best of demons are expert in hiding their presence, and only reveal themselves if they want. But you're able to detect a demon's presence? Aizawa says. It's something learnt with years. When you're constantly dealing with demons, you learn how to sense one. Even then, sometimes you come across a demon where you're unaware until they're knocking on your door. It can happen even to the best of us. The upper moons that attacked the swordsman village weren't noticed by Taketo until one had literally came knocking on the door. Lesser demons, however, would be easier detected by someone, say, Aizawa-san, as he's a trained underground hero. In the occurrence that any of the Udata staff does come across a demon, I'll be providing enough wisteria poison to each, enough to buy time for either evacuation or till I arrive. Izuku runs his fingers across his clip again, now warm to the touch, and considers his plan. I'll need a few days in the lab, to stock up on my poison and to study Kinhon's blood. He turns to present Mike. You do have it? The hero taps the table beside his cot. Right under here. Out of the sun just like you said. Thank you. Hiding the closed box under the table isn't necessary, but it's a considerate gesture. As I was saying, I need some days to myself, mostly undisturbed if that's possible. I prefer to work alone as the fumes of my poison can be toxic. I practice proper safety in the lab. Don't worry, did he lie? He's gotten used to the fumes at this point. It won't harm him as it would others. No need for protective gear. I'll also start to work on recreating the anti-Kibutsuji drag. I may need to revisit old papers actually. The drag was a combined effort between him and Tamayo. Perhaps a visit to his old home would be needed. And I'll be modifying the drag if this new generation of demons are proven to have different. Izuku shakes off his thoughts. He's starting to ramble. I request 3 straight days in the lab, he says, looking the two heroes directly in the eye. Please. We can get you 5 if needed, Aizawa answers. Since you didn't participate in the festival, you didn't get any internship offers, beside one. Who? Ingenium. How nice of him. I'll politely decline. 5 is better actually, but I really only need 3 undisturbed. UDA has private labs normally reserved for the 3rd years. They're usually booked around this time of term because of upcoming exams, but since your work takes priority, Power Loader can work things out. As for the 3 straight days, Aizawa gives a stern look. I hope you don't mean that literally. 6 hours sleep minimum and 3 meals every day. Of course, he replies without even batting an eye. I know better than to run myself out. Resources will be provided out of U.A's pocket and most equipment should be down there anyway, if not, Power Loader. One of the staff will stop by to check up on you briefly a few times a day, alright. That's okay with me. This is very generous of you. Thank you. Aizawa rolls his eyes good-naturedly. You're doing work to save Japan? This is hardly repayment, Midoriya. To save Japan, that's what he's doing, isn't it? That is what he's doing, saving Japan. He wants this. No, he doesn't mind it. It's how it is, the things you are familiar with, you grow used to it no matter if you hate it or love it. It all eventually becomes a routine, one that you learn to embrace, eventually. A demon slayer, it is familiar to Izuku. Yes, he admits he is mad, he always has been. But it isn't the same, not the same anger that had consumed and driven him to swallow his own poison. He doesn't mind carrying out his responsibilities, but he's mad that he has to. By the end, maybe it will end the same. Will this anger grow? Will he once die again, die satisfied with his conclusion? Maybe. But Izuku does hope not. But in the end, it is a butterfly cycle. A cycle that begins with rebirth and inevitably leads to the death. No matter, the outcomes remain the same. Of course, he smiles up at the two heroes, it all makes sense. What is a little pressure in the grand scheme of things? Mom, I'm so sorry, I should have called ahead. Izuku suppresses a blush when Recovery Girl gives him a scolding look that he imagines is on his mother's face right now. I know, but it completely slipped my mind, and I fell asleep. Another scathing look, this time for moving as Recovery Girl changes his bandages. Izuku mouths a small apology. His mother sighs exasperatedly through the phone speaker. Just don't do it again, okay? I nearly had a heart attack when I saw your bed empty. I promise it won't, I really am sorry for worrying you. I know, she says softly, just be back home tonight, okay? I will be. I'm sorry. I'll be alright, Izuku, don't keep apologizing. I love you and have fun at school, alright? Love you too, Mum. He pockets his phone, tying the last of the bandages off himself, thanking Recovery Girl with a smile. A spare school uniform is given to him to replace his other, work, uniform. The sleeves are a little too long on his arms and the pants are loose on his waist, but Izuku resolves it with simply rolling the fabric until the excess isn't hampering movement. School doesn't officially start until 8:30, leaving around 2 hours to do what he pleases. Expectedly, the halls are empty of any students as he makes way to the support lab. The teachers are on school ground though, Power Loader should be where Izuku needs him. His old teacher isn't in the main studio when he arrives, but the sounds of the hero rummaging through scraps can be heard through the back door. Izuku cleans up his own station while he waits, pocketing 2 vials of his strongest poison. He's running low on supply, but there's cratefuls of wisteria flowers on their way to you, not ready to be concentrated into poison as of now. Power Loader pushes the door open with his foot, his arms busy with scraps of metal. The hero whistles tunelessly, completely unaware of Izuku's presence. Izuku shuts the drawer to his desk, purposely making noise. Good morning, sensei. The hero startles, head whipping to his direction, and nearly dropping his scraps. Midoriya, what are you doing here so early? Had some work to do, Izuku answers simply, lifting up the bloodied uniform in his hands, ran into some trouble. You okay? You're not hurt, are you? The genuine concern is touching. I'm alright, just in need for a uniform repair and a private lab. He hands the uniform, minus his Haori, to Power Loader, trusting the hero to work his skill and return it safely. It'll be done a few days, Power Loader says, inspecting the dark fabric. This material is pretty commonly used with hero costumes still, so it won't be too hard to patch this up. As for the private lab, if my memory serves me right, there should be one last available room. I'll get it booked for ya. Just don't tell any of your old classmates about it or they'll riot. Especially Hatsum. I won't, he laughs, I'm working with delicate things anyway. Good, wait, how delicate are we talking? Delicate, Izuku replies with a mirthful lilt. Ah, Power Loader pretends to understand. I'll go on to, the hero shakes the handful of fabric in his hand, fixing your uniform then. Izuku spends the next hour in his unofficial chem lab. He counts for every wisteria poison vial in those drawers and stores the demon's blood where he used to keep his Nichiren blade and Demon Slayer uniform. The tasks are done shortly, leaving him with too much time. Izuku decides to quickly formulate basic tonics and medicines he always had a Kakushi carry when he went out on missions that were likely to have injured slayers or civilians. Antidotes to most types of poison, antibiotics, cures to blood art that transforms one into a spider or a plant, it happens too often, and the basics like painkillers and numbing ointments. He knows these formulae off by heart and have made each 1,000 times. It doesn't take long to complete. By the time the early students start to trickle through Udade's gates, Izuku has a complete medkit, filled with nearly everything for every demon-related emergency, aside from actual medical equipment. He needs to ask Recovery Girl for those. Izuku walks back to his new homeroom class feeling better accomplished. Of course not everything needs to be done is done, but it's a start. His body is still sore, his legs so much so since he's actively walking on it, but not enough that it begs for a limp. As long as no one decides to strike him specifically on his injuries, he'll be fine. Aoyama greets him as he enters, along with the always punctual Ida. Izuku waves back, exchanging pleasantries easily like a chunk of his thigh wasn't ripped out and then stabbed a few hours ago. First PRD comes with the arrival of internship announcements and midnight. Izuku already knows what he's doing during internships, not interning, but his hero name. He presents his whiteboard to class 1A. Izuku, he says mildly. A placeholder? Midnight questions. It's my hero name. Are you sure? She asks, frowning lightly. First names are personal and not to say, a little boring. I'm not aiming to be a flashy hero. I'm hardly sure if I even want to be one. And? Izuku ducks his head, hiding a pressed smile. My first name isn't as personal as it gets. He's only in this class to work freely, and if required, to protect Class A from another demon attack. Hero names aren't something Izuku concerns himself on, as he's not really aiming to be one. Hence, the simple name. Midnight accepts his reasoning. Todoroki follows his example and so does Ida. I haven't had the chance to discuss it with my brother, Ida explains, but I shall have one before I begin my internship. After hero names, it's lunch. After that, it's heroics training. Izuku changes into gym uniform since his costume is under repair, out of his classmates' sight because of bandages and questions. It's rescue training at the USJ. The dome roof is completely open now, Izuku notices looking around. The plaza is completely clear of any evidence that an attack had taken place and Class A are surprisingly calm for revisiting. Izuku participates since the exercise is hardly straining. Tending to the injured is easy once you've done it 1,000 times. Kaminari even comments that he's a little too good. Izuku laughs it off. Then a villain attacks. Todoroki gets snatched up as a hostage. Izuku doesn't even get the slightest temptation to draw his blade. With unhurried footsteps, even nearly skipping, he walks up to Aizawa, smiling as chaos unfolds. No one notices Izuku and Aizawa standing, doing nothing to stop the villain. Is that All Might? Yeah. This is a bit unnecessary. It was All Might's idea. But you approved it. Aizawa shrugs. They could learn from this. The hero takes his eyes off All Might's attempts of balancing being a threat and trying not to actually hurt any of the students, turning back to Izuku with a raised brow. You're not going to help? Should I? It's admittedly entertaining to watch Todoroki flop around limply in All Might's arms. Todoroki catches him watching, making eye contact. Izuku widens his smile and waves. No, Aizawa says decisively, you're injured, and it looks like they have it under control anyway. The teamwork is impressive, he comments idly, watching Class A formulate a honest to decent plan. And it works. All Might gets captured and is faced with the wrath of 19 angry teenagers. Even being the number one hero doesn't save him, not after instilling panic within Class A like that. And being one of Class A doesn't save Izuku from their feelings of betrayal either. Midoriya! Ashido cries, shaking an angry fist to his face. How could you do this to us? You knew it was All Might the whole time? Well, it was fairly obvious, he replies, acting bashful. Todoroki gives him a discreet stink eye. Don't lie to us. Aizawa-sensei told you, didn't he? Ah, but it would have been a shame if I unknowingly stabbed the symbol of peace. HMPF, fair enough. Ashido forgives him easily, moving on to chat animatedly with the rest of the girls. The bus ride back to the main campus is just as noisy, to Aizawa's displeasure. The hero hasn't slept at all, since he spent the entire night and morning at UA. He thought at first, at the beginning of the school year, that the infamous homeroom teacher of Class 1A, and the gym teacher, occasionally for the other non-heroic courses, was an insomniac. But it turns out it's because of his 2 jobs as a teacher and an underground hero that makes sleep scarce. Unfortunately, it's only insomnia that Izuku can treat. He can't do much for Aizawa. Midoriya Karo, I usually say whatever is on my mind, Azui says, hushing the chatter of the bus. Is that so, Azui-san? She bobs her head. Forgive me if this is too blunt, but I've been wondering what had driven you to kill the villain at the USJ attack. Izuku blinks and dims his smile, impervious to the many eyes staring. How many times have he answered the same question to unknowing civilians? Many. It's like reading off a script at this point. It's rather simple. The villain was not human, yet a threat to the lives of everyone, so I found it justifiable to kill. For both the safety of Class 1A and allowing the poor soul peace in death. I assure. Not human. Someone interrupts, a murmur. Not any longer, he says, remaining patient. His statement does nothing to stop the growing judgment. But if he's right, it's been there all along. To let things unfold, Izuku decides. People are more willing to listen once they've let themselves been heard first. But Kirishima protests, the villain was still a living person. To kill it isn't right. I agree, Ida admits, avoiding Izuku's gaze, though I am grateful Midoriya-kun saved our lives, I don't believe killing is in line with a hero's moral. Kaminari nods apprehensively, yeah, I'm thankful and all too. But you, Midoriya did straight-up murder two villains. And a majority of his classmates seem to agree, even if to varying degrees. Izuku can see that they've been waiting to comment on his actions for a long while now, keeping their thoughts in the back of their heads while they prepared for the sports festival. The only ones who don't nod along or express their thoughts out loud are Todoroki, Ashido, Shuji, and Kaken. Guys, I think you're ignoring the main point here. Midoriya said the villains weren't even human. Ashido, Uraraka says, twiddling her thumbs, but he said they were. Would it be any different if it were a corpse Midoriya stabbed? And Ida, you were totally there when that Misty guy literally disintegrated. You can't tell me that's normal for a human, and Midoriya did that to save our lives. But killing is bad. Oh, I know you're not talking about morals, Mineta. If Midoriya was great enough to kill the villains, Mineta continues, strangely driven for, as Ashido implied, someone who has loose morals himself, then he should have been enough to capture them instead. Even Aizawa-sensei or 13 couldn't hold against them. How could you expect Midoriya to? He's a student just like us. Then he should have waited till All Might arrived. But he didn't, Todoroki says coolly, interjecting so suddenly that the heated debate stops momentarily. By the time All Might and the teachers arrived, the villains would have either escaped capture or killed us all. Todoroki shrugs, continuing to lean against the window and stare intently at the passing road. It was two villains who couldn't even be classified as human dead or our lives. How do we even know the villains weren't human? Uraraka asks, hushed. We have no way of really knowing that. The villain disintegrated Uraraka. Ashido emphasizes. Because he killed him. Mineta shouts, pointing. Everyone's missing the point here. Ashido leans over seat, nearly standing. You all say you're grateful that Midoriya saved our lives, but then you all won't even hear him out. Let him speak first before you all start judging him. He's killed Ashido. I think it's acceptable for us to judge him for that, Ojiro murmurs. The villains weren't human. Aizawa shoots him a look. Say something or I will. Not yet. Let them speak. They were living still, Kirishima says once more, frowning heavily in thought. The villains acted like any regular villain. They spoke, thought, and seemed human. Midoriya may be right in that they weren't human, but I still thought them as one. I don't agree with Midoriya-kun's method either, but say, if he hadn't done what he had done, what would be of us, our teachers? Yaoyorozu says, her expression saying that she's been waiting to finally voice her own opinion. Aizawa-sensei couldn't have fought every villain there, especially with the two that Midoriya-kun killed being mutants. And, she ducks her head, I can't say the same for my classmates, but I truly felt the bloodthirst of the villains. It was like nothing I had imagined when I thought of facing a real threat. I've heard of killing intent, but what was at the USJ? It was terrible, Jair finishes with a conflicted face. I only briefly felt it before I was warped away, but I remember how terrible their sound was, while Midoriya's, even though I was far in the mountain zone, I could hear his anger and hatred, his urge to protect. She makes brief eye contact with him. He feels she is reading him now. Us. Jiru swallows. But now he isn't mad at all as we judge him for his actions right in front of his face. He isn't mad at all. I don't think it's right to kill, but I don't believe Midoriya is a bad person either. How could you all talk like he's like them, like one of the villains when he did it out of the intent to protect us? Then it's acceptable? To kill? If it's justified, then us heroes can do what we believe? That makes us no better than the villains. You're calling Midoriya a villain? Ida. Todoroki dash. It was them or us. You'd have to be stupidly naive to believe that there was an outcome that ended with both sides alive. If you're truly grateful to Midoriya, then you'd understand that why he did what he'd done, and that he had no other choice or path to take for it to be anything else than two real killers dead. The silence remains unbroken. Izuku takes it as a cue to finally speak. He inclines his head, folding his hands in his lap, the expression he holds as the one everyone knows him for. More is to be voiced by his classmates, and he will hear them soon, but Izuku decides a bus is not the right place for doing so. I think, he speaks without an ounce of nerves, it's time I give the explanation you all deserve. The best of lies are told with as truths. He sits kneeling at the very front of the classroom, hands fisted on his thighs, where every student of class 1A can see him. They sit too, either cross-legged or mimicking his own posture on the hard wooden floor. The chairs and desks have been pushed back to the very back of the room. Even though it strains his injuries, Izuku decides to kneel. It's NTMT this way, putting them on all the same level. Even Aizawa sits, near Izuku but not by him, telling who exactly is leading the conversation. There's a traitor sitting in this very classroom. He hasn't known class 1A for long, but he still feels a dull ache in his chest when his eyes pass over each face. Anyone could be the traitor, yet Izuku would still risk his life for anyone here. He can't afford getting attached, but he can't see himself not getting attached, because he already has. What would become of the traitor once they're discovered? His own voice whispers seppuku. But none of Class A are samurai or demon slayers. They would be imprisoned instead. In Tartarus, maybe, possibly. He hates the idea. Even if the traitor, is a danger to his secrets and life, imprisonment in Tartarus is consequence to the worst of villains, and Izuku wants to believe none of his classmates are willingly trading information with the League. It's naive of him for believing so. He's aware of that. And, still, Izuku's willingly giving information to the entire class, knowing that there is a traitor. Because above all, he needs his classmates to trust him, and there's not a lot of trust going around now. It would be worse if Class 1A splintered, became lesser of a team, than if the League discovered a little more about Izuku. Things will turn out fine by the end of the day, because it's really himself that he's endangering. It's not like he's not a target already. So, Izuku exhales tightly. First I'll begin with the real reason of why I was transferred to the hero course. He pauses, waiting for interruption. He was a demon slayer, a member of the corps that was never recognized by the government. Their work was never legal. I was a vigilante, he resumes, with no interruption. It's the truth, just not all of it. As a quirkless individual, I never believed I could be a hero by the normal means, so I became the next best thing. My name and work never made the news because I wanted it that way, but I knew that wouldn't last. Because of that, I began enrollment at Yude. I enrolled as a support student, helping others from the sideline instead. I put a stop to my nightly activities, choosing to keep low to keep the heroes off my tail. Izuku smiles, and it worked. No one suspected a thing. Not even the illegal equipment I kept in the labs. Ida makes a strangled noise and barely restrains himself from opening his mouth to recite Japan's every law and regulation. The rest of the Class A aren't as dramatic, but give off the same feeling. Yes, Izuku kept weapons and barely legal poisons on Udata ground and also worked as a vigilante at night. He understands the shock. Hagakure tentatively raises a hand, sleeve. How long have you been working? As a vigilante? He hums, smile unrelenting. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. But it feels like a lifetime. Aizawa eyes him with an unamused look. Izuku clears his throat. He thinks his joke was little funny. I wasn't successful in hiding my identity for long. He tilts his head, letting out a light puff of air, obviously. Though I had confidence I could keep hiding, I couldn't in good conscience after I was alerted of the USJ. Yaoyorozu murmurs, drawing the conclusion, you revealed yourself at the USJ. That. Ojiro says, his face muddled with emotion, doing that could have landed you in prison. Revealing yourself to the heroes as a vigilante, armed with weapons. A lot of things could have, but I knew what I was doing and what I was risking. I could have ended in a prison, but how should he word this? Nicely. You would have died if I hadn't intervened. It helps also that I knew that heroes are more lenient to young lawbreakers. Things are learned after years of experience. What laws to bend, the risks and immorality that comes of bending said laws, how to make the best of the worst situations. Ida's frown deepens. Laws are kept for the safety of citizens and keep order in our country. Of course, Izuku easily agrees, without laws it would be chaos. But the world isn't black and white. The law is only an umbrella covering a limited area. The most prevalent example being that I was never actually considered a vigilante under Japan's current laws. Though Izuku is being technical here, he still would have been charged by impeding police work and with assault. Quirkless, vigilantism is the act of using one's quirk to illegally perform heroic duty. An oversight, Ida argues, as how the law often oversees many circumstances. Our system is not perfect. And how it wasn't murder because the person you killed wasn't human, Ojiro says tightly. Exactly. I still don't. Ida's face pinches. I still don't agree. I'm not asking you to change your worldviews, just to keep an open mind, or listen. He gets a nod. Izuku breathes and continues. As a vigilante that works primarily in the night, it is inevitable to come across hellish things. Assault, drag trafficking, murder, RP. Izuku meets his gaze with the unlucky Kaminari sitting directly in front of him. The boy suppresses a flinch under his stare. Human experimentation. Class 1A catch on quick. Faces pale, small gasps resound. The ones he killed were once human, he said, and they remember. At its basis, that is what demons are. Humans, who have been changed, turned into a monstrous thing that only hollowly resembles what it once was. I don't know when it started, but it's been years since these experiments made an appearance in the underground. At first I had tried to subdue them like any other normal villain, but what I found that these creatures were nigh indestructible. Small lies, twisted truths. It's been years since demons have existed. How many? To his classmates they assume 2, 3. To him, years mean centuries. And he's never tried to subdue a demon like he would a villain. He's given demon a choice to live, but at the cost of torture. Never the same thing. As he continues, he wonders if Jairu can hear lies as well as Yuzui or Zenitsu. They have strength to rival All Might, the speed, stamina to everlast, and mutated quirks made deadly. They regenerate. Rip off a leg and they will make another, cut off the head and one will grow in its place. They kill and consume what they do to satiate their hunger. They're what I believe to be demons. Man-eating creatures who lurk in the night and burn in the sun. Who only stop when killed, who cannot be classified as human. The truth is that I have been slaying demons for years, as a vigilante, and I have been transferred to the hero course to do that exactly. W8 demons? Like in the books, the stories. It's what I've been led to conclude, Izuku answers Kaminari. Is everyone here familiar with the story of demons? Midnight Sensei touched on the subject at the start of the year. Yaoyorozu informs quietly. She said that the demons were eradicated all the way back in the Taisho era. That there was a battle that finally took place to kill the progenitor of demons, ending with thousands of warriors dead. Your claim that you've been killing demons for years, that it were demons that attacked you. She pauses, her voice nearly too quiet to be heard, like she's hardly believes her own words. It makes sense. Yaoyorozu-sen, Ida turns his head to her, looking disbelieved. Midoriya, you really believe him? If demons were really a thing, then shouldn't the heroes know of it? The public? Midoriya is implying that. I know what he's implying, Ida, but everyone, just think. Multi-quirked people just don't exist, who happen to have a craving for blood, who happened to be immune to Aizawa-sensei's own quirk, who coincidentally appeared after the villains purposely blocked the sunlight from the USJ dome. So what you're saying is that it makes more sense for it to be true than for it to be a lie, Jiru says, her eyebrows furrowed. I mean, I hate the fact that literal demons nearly ate our buttes, but Midoriya doesn't really have a reason to make this up. Plus, Aizawa-sensei isn't saying anything, she points out, drawing eyes to the hero, so we know he agrees. It's a difficult thing to swallow, Izuku says with sincerity. I understand if you don't believe any of this, but Jiru-san is right, I'm not lying. She huffs, borderline incredulous. You'd have to be dedicated if you were. Hasn't anyone else noticed his hero costume? The katana he carries? Zero laughs sarcastically, his face pale in a way he's seen so many times and his fists clenched tight in anger, not at Izuku, but at the realization that his competence as a hero student doesn't reach as far as he thought it did. So what, Midoriya is a demon slayer now? Fear, denial, a response to that the ghosts and demons you've heard in nighttime stories are real. The faces that class 1A wear, the fear at first, and the shame that slowly creeps for feeling that way, this is why Izuku is so NTMT with anger. Demons exist to ruin lives, and this is something Izuku can never forgive. Jiru starts and stops. She blinks. Yeah, he is? Midoriya literally slayed 2 demons, you saw it, Zero. Zero throws up his arms. We don't even know if they're actually demons. Yamamo thinks it's true, and she's the smartest person in the whole year. You say that because she's your friend. Midoriya is my friend, that's why I believe him. And his story is totally reasonable. What's so reasonable about demons? I have earjacks growing out my ears, what's so reasonable about that? Quirks aren't the same. We're talking about multi-quirked cannibalistic serial killers. He's claiming that demons exist. The same demons that Yaoyorozu just said were extinct since Taisho. It's been like 1,000 years since then. And what? Just because it's been so long since then doesn't make it impossible for these demons to re-emerge. These type of things don't just emerge after centuries. Midoriya said he's been fighting demons for years. So we just trust the guy isn't absolutely crazy? Have you been thinking at all, Zero? Or have you just been sitting there, pissing your FNG pants, because you're too afraid of the idea that demons? Enough, Izuku finally interjects, voice even and silencing. You're confused, scared even, but there's no point in arguing without aim. Zero, his classmate freezes, I assure you, I'm not crazy. And Jiru, thank you, but that wasn't needed, next time be a little kinder. He doesn't say it out loud, to spare the small amount of dignity. He trusts Jiru gets the conveyed message. If her quirk can't quite read intent as well as Yuzui, then his expression in itself should be enough. Midoriya is correct. You are all heroes in training, act like it. Their teacher's words bring shame. Some even duck their head like scolded children. If you're unsure still, Midoriya has both mine and the U.A staff's faith. Principal Nedza himself has confirmed what Midoriya claims to be true. This is scary, I know, but it's reality. You cannot afford to stay in denial when your lives could be at risk. Sorry. Both Izuku and Aizawa. Class 1A has done nothing to deserve to fear for their lives so early in their years. But as Aizawa said, this is reality. The world isn't fair. Sensei, are we really going to be attacked again? Mineta asks so like a child. UA has taken measures to prevent an attack like USJ happening again. Demons are not infallible, Power Loader and Midoriya are. Why in the hell would you even trust that shithead? If demons are strong as All Might, then what makes everyone think that he can FNG kill one? Deku's quirkless. Deku. Uraraka echoes. Bakugu, the Demon Slayer Corps were made of quirkless swordsmen, Yaoyorozu says. Yeah, that's why they're all FING dead. Midnight said the strongest 9 were killed. The strongest out of the whole goddamn corps were killed like FNG flies. What makes you think Deku can do what even they failed to do? All those bloody people dead and demons are still wandering the FNG streets. Jiru eyes him nervously, hands twitching like she wants to cover her ears. Those are his comrades. Kaken is cursing. His friends. His family. Rage boils and rolls off in waves. They were people. Teenagers with no family, children who only knew what a blade was and how to swing it, lovers who never had a chance, brothers, sisters. They did not fail that night. I did not swallow poison so you could say I failed. Izuku is familiar with anger. He knows how to hold his tongue. Even as his skin prickles and crawls, Izuku smiles, and it feels like venom is leaking from the corners of his mouth. Kaken doesn't know a thing. What it was like to have your lungs burn with ice, have one collapse and be forced to breathe through it with your own poison running through your veins. To face your sister's murderer, to have the same monster smile at the mention of her death. To see the girl you'd raised face fall once she realizes you have decided to die just like her sister. To win at the cost of being eaten and absorbed. To win and have someone say that it was a failure. He holds his tongue because lashing out isn't worth it. There are two main ways to kill a demon, he says in place of what he wants to say. Izuku boils in anger and finds comfort in it, because for so long that was all he felt. Sunlight and decapitation by a specially made blade. I can't decapitate demons, nor do I have the right blade to do so. Instead, I've procured a third way to kill demons. Throughout trial and error, I created a poison able to break a demon from the inside out. That, paired with my unique sword style, is what makes me able to kill demons. Izuku exhales and unsheathes his blade from his belt, holding it horizontally in his hands. A stinger blade, forged to move and inject poison right into a demon's flesh. The lavender metal sheens as he tilts the katana left to right. I could teach others how to wield my blade, he sheathes it, but that would take time we don't have. But the heroes, they are helping, he says, in their own ways. Sounds like bullshit, Kaken sneers. Izuku gives a sickly sweet smile in return. Kaken's not wrong at all. Midoriya and Power Loader are collaborating to input measures preventing another attack. Collaborating is a stretch, but he understands why Aizawa words it that way. Your safety is priority, and our legal responsibility. Everything we've said and done is for the purpose of protecting you. I'll say this however many times I need, the knowledge of demons, everything said today in this room cannot leave it. If you must, you may discuss it privately amongst classmates, but no one else, not even your family or other students. So this is it, this Kaminari makes an aborted gesture with his hand, it's all true? Demons. They're real and will really, probably, try to kill us again. It is, Izuku replies, withholding an apology. It's not his fault. His classmates' throat bobs, swallowing. And we're supposed to trust that you'll protect us if they do? Did I fail the first time? No, Kaminari says quietly, but you're just a student like us. Why do you protect the class when we're hero students too? But, Izuku thinks, he isn't like them at all. Can you kill a demon, Kaminari-san? Do you have the drive to learn how to wield a blade, on top of your hero and Quirk training? Do any of you? Izuku gets the answer he expects. When you do, I'll gratefully step back into the role of support student, like I'd planned. Until then, this is how it is. This time, he can't hold back the apology. I'm sorry. Izuku doesn't know what he's apologizing for. Is it that he sees Class 1A being forced to grow up, like the children in the past he thought were the last of generations? Can you try? Yaoyorozu asks, soft yet determined. Teach us, please. Is that what you want? Izuku says and aches dully, because it isn't what he wants. Isn't he just endangering them more if he agrees to train his classmates? Isn't he just enabling them to think they can do what Izuku knows they cannot? We're hero students, she says. Exactly. Hero students. He sees their determination, the drive he asked for. Izuku looks to Aizawa and his carefully blank face and then his classmates, whose faces seen only the surface horrors of demons and its slayers. He thinks of children dead, clutching bloodied swords, and their faces overlapping those. Please, she repeats, let us help too. He thinks of Kaneo, her pleads to take his place. Her face falling in the moment of realization when he told her his plan and everything. Can Izuku train them like all his Tsuguko preceding Kaneo? They are all dead. There are 3 ways to kill a demon, Izuku recites, his carefully put mask wavering dangerously, sunlight, decapitation by Nichiren blade and wisteria poison. Sunlight is unreliable, and I don't have access to Nichiren. Izuku hesitates and he hopes none of his classmates notice. His personal feelings shouldn't be affecting his decisions. He agreed to it himself. Class 1A is likely to be targeted again. Whether they have the abilities to defend themselves against a demon or not isn't going to stop any of his classmates from trying to interfere. They are hero students, and it isn't in line with their morals to run from a fight. He's putting them at further risk by refusing. Izuku weighs his personal feelings and what will be best, and he steels himself, already knowing what course of action is most logical. I can share the formula for my wisteria poison. Yaoyorozu-san, your quirk probably stands the best chance against demons. Something in her eyes spark. Wisteria poison? Wisteria is a weakness of demons. Isn't that, she speaks slowly, her eyes boring into his, the method that the demon slayer, Kocho Shinobu used herself? Todoroki stands and leaves. No one but Izuku notices, with everyone's attention on him. He holds himself tightly, the loose folds of his borrowed gym uniform hiding himself. I've taken great inspiration from her. I found that I was fighting creatures our past has already dealt with. Why not use the same methods that they did? It's easy that way. I wouldn't say utilizing wisteria. Poison is easy, Yaoyorozu says. No, I agree. How did you find to recreate her poisons? No one's ever been able to it before, it being so complicated of course, and that most of the written records of her formulae have been lost. She looks around to her classmates, seeming shocked that no one really gets what she means. It's impressive what Midoriya-kun achieved. From what I've seen, his sword style closely resembles Kocho Shinobu's too. You really know your history, Yaoyorozu-san. She's, an inspiration of mine. My quirk revolves around chemistry, and she was the best of chemists. But that's just my personal opinion. Izuku can't help a smile blossoming and the light blush overtaking his cheeks. I've known her work for a long while to make wisteria poison. I simply done what Kocho Shinobu did. Experiment. Midoriya-kun must be really smart, Uraraka whispers to Ida, kneeling in Seiza beside her. He must, Ida murmurs back. May I ask, Yaoyorozu pauses. Hesitates. Why you dress like her too? The tone Yaoyorozu uses throws Izuku off. A personal question? He recovers quick, because birthing another question isn't what Izuku needs. I use the same means she did. I think it's important to recognize the past this way. He pauses. Remembers there is a traitor in this room. Izuku chooses his words carefully, but when is it that he doesn't? And that, if the League knows what they're doing in creating demons, I want them to recognize my uniform and fear it the way that the demons in our history learned to fear Kocho Shinobu. He smiles, says it all with a smile. Izuku thinks perhaps he hasn't changed at all. I want the League to fear me as much as the people that I fight beside respect me. And Aizawa smoothly picks up from where Izuku left. On that, in the case where another demon attack occurs, you will all follow Midoriya's orders as you would mine. That's final, the teacher finishes, pointedly looking at Kaken. It'll take time for Class 1A to process the situation that they were thrown into and to accept it. Their views on him will change, some may not even see him as a friend anymore. His role as a slayer is a divide between Izuku and Class 1A, though maybe not everyone recognizes it. Izuku doesn't want another difference between him and the people who, maybe in another life, he would easily call friends, because he's already the quirkless student who was transferred on a whim, who was basically given a free ride to the course that everyone else had to work for. He knows, though, that Class 1A will accept it how it is, eventually. He'll have their trust and respect, because they are all kind people at heart. They'll be friends again soon, hopefully. Izuku was given a second life, and like the last, he refuses to die with regret. Headaches are indefinitely worse than frostbite. Fuyumi would say he's odd for thinking so, but Natsuo would agree with him. Shudo would normally ride them out, as he tried when the ache wasn't so bad at the start of all the talking, sit and stew in the god-awful pain, but in the moment even being in the same room as Midoriya amplified his headache from horrible to sledgehammer to the skull horrible. No one notices his leave, he thinks. Shudo only has one perfect eye to see with, and the knife in his head is starting to worsen his vision. He doesn't try to walk any further down the hall, opting to lean against the wall right outside his class with a hand covering his face, blocking out the harsh school lighting. He isn't unfamiliar with these headaches. They've been persistent throughout his entire life, as like the nightmares he's never been able to grow out of. And recently, they've gotten worse. He sat through that meeting with a building headache and with the feeling that the new information being fed to the class was like revision. He isn't satisfied at all. Was what he wanted, wasn't it? Information on Midoriya, and why he made him feel so odd. But Shudo had left the room no less confused. Midoriya explained everything to his class, yet it felt like nothing to Shudo. He already knew all of this. Shudo ices his hand, providing temporary relief for his throbbing head. He should stop thinking about Midoriya, lest the pain worsens. He breathes slowly, riding out the headache. It'll go away. He re-ices his hand. Things will be fine, Shudo. Todoroki-san. Shudo groans, headache flaring, and his heart doing a cartwheel when he catches the scent he now recognizes. Wisteria. Midoriya. He manages to grit out between the pain. Are you all right? Light footsteps. Midoriya now stands before him. I'm fine. Obviously. You're not a very skilled liar, Midoriya laughs, despite just coming out of a serious conversation and that Shudo's obviously very fine. I'm fine, Shudo repeats, taking his hand off his face to prove a point. The world is tinted gray and Shudo has to squint to see Midoriya's blurred silhouette. He feels there is a heartbeat behind his eyes and skull. Is there anything I can do to assist you, Todoroki-san? Midoriya asks, leaning forward slightly as if he's trying to inspect him. I'm well experienced in medicine, you know. Midoriya's close proximity, the heavy floral scent, makes Shudo's vision double. His voice, the clip in his hair, the blade by his waist. Did you need my assistance, Tomioka-san? Kocho. I'm bleeding out. I'm just fine. I don't need your... Midoriya cuts him off with a hand, grabbing his wrist, and starts to drag Shudo down the hall. The nurse, Midoriya says, unrelenting. We've done this before. Have we? Midoriya asks without slowing down. You dragged me across the mall to eat salmon. And did you regret it? Shudo doesn't deny anything. Midoriya smiles. I'm always right, Todoroki-san. You'll be thankful later when your migraine calms. Now he's a little thankful that Midoriya guides him like a blind dog. Midoriya's presence is only worsening the pain, yet Shudo can't find the will to pull himself away. Something deep inside him tells Shudo to trust Midoriya. And he listens. Why am I like this? Like what? I didn't come to you today to make friends. We don't have to be friends. I think we already are. You confuse me. I think you've said something along those lines before. Why do you? That's not a question I can answer. Those are your feelings. But you can. I feel like you can. But I can't. Now's not the time, Todoroki-san. You're hurting. They arrive at the nurse's door. Shudo feels that Midoriya means something else with his words. Is it not the time because Shudo has a headache, or is it now the time because Midoriya means that things aren't ready yet, that Shudo isn't ready yet? The office is empty, with Recovery Girl attending the third year's medic course at this time. Midoriya makes himself at home, ordering Shudo to sit as he opens up locked cupboards for pill bottles, before reading the labels and putting them down. Don't worry, Midoriya reassures him, his hands busy, but unseen with his back turned. I'm allowed to do this. He brings a clear bottle of water, a plastic cup full with questionable green liquid and a roll of bandages to the bed Shudo sat on. Midoriya passes the cup off to his hand. Drink, he commands. Shudo stares at the mystery liquid, barely concealing his disdain and suspicion. What is it? He asks, holding the cup to his nose and sniffing. It hardly smells of anything, only a slight scent of herbs. Poison. Shudo stares. I'm joking, Midoriya quickly rectifies. It'll cure your migraine. I'm experienced in medicine, remember? Can't I just take a painkiller? This'll work better. Shudo eyes the water in Midoriya's other hand, and slowly takes it for himself. He twists off the cap awkwardly with his only free hand. Trusts Midoriya won't poison him and that the mystery liquid will work, but Shudo isn't taking any risks in taste. Kocho was infamous for her bitter medicine. "Oh, don't be dramatic," Midoriya says when Shudo holds the bottle ready near his mouth. Shudo ignores him and downs the medicine in one go, quickly following up with a half of the entire bottle of water. Not taking any risks. Midoriya quirks an eyebrow. "Better." Shudo blinks, vision clearing. His headache fades. "Better." He sees Midoriya's expectant smile with clear eyes. "Thank you," Shudo says quietly. "You're welcome," Midoriya says and goes to clean up the small mess he made. Shudo remains sitting while he fiddles with the bottle in his hand, waiting for Midoriya. "What were the bandages for?" "Me." Shudo frowns, attention snapping back to Midoriya. "Are you hurt?" Midoriya hums, casual. "I ran into some trouble with a demon last night." "Is that why you left?" "He was following me." "You could have said something," Shudo says, a little betrayed. "None of you knew anything at the time, and I didn't want anyone else following me. Would you have let us help if we did?" "No, probably not." Midoriya sighs. "Don't tell the class that. Or that I ran into trouble last night." "I won't, though he kind of wants to." Shudo does, somewhat, understand why Midoriya doesn't want their classmates to know. "Can I see the injury then?" "It wasn't bad if that's what you're thinking." Shudo averts his eyes to give Midoriya privacy as he unbuckles his belt, taking off his gym pants. "Before or after Recovery Girl used her quirk?" Midoriya seems the type to downplay his injuries. "It's been manageable," he replies. "You can look, by the way, I'm wearing boxers." Shudo swallows and does, catching Midoriya unraveling the old bandages. Midoriya sits beside him, the mattress dipping under his weight. "Your thigh, you were kneeling earlier. Hadn't that hurt?" "It looks worse than it is," Midoriya says, applying disinfectant to the nearly closed wound. Around the edges of it, scar tissue is already starting to form, an angry contrast to Midoriya's otherwise unblemished skin. "No, it looks like a chunk of you was bitten off." "Then you're not too far off." "What?" "I'm joking." Midoriya rewraps his thigh with expert fingers. Shudo huffs, "No, you're not." Midoriya hums, basically confirming what he said. "We should get back to class. They've had enough time to talk about me." "Is that why you're here? To give them time to talk behind your back?" "Not entirely, I still wanted to check on you." Midoriya slips back into his pants, adorning his belt again. "And, talking about me without my presence isn't necessarily a bad thing. They just need time to work things out without me there." He holds up a hand, drawing quotations marks in the air, pressuring them. "Oh," Shudo follows Midoriya out the door. "Then, wouldn't I need time to work things out too? Do you want another crippling headache?" "No. But I wasn't working anything out, it was a headache." "I had a headache." "And why did you get that headache?" "Because," Shudo frowns, taking a look at Midoriya's face. You phrase it like a question." "It is." "I think you should be more sure of yourself, Todoroki-san," Midoriya says, a small, almost sad smile on his face. "Stop doubting your own feelings, and trust them instead. Then, maybe, you'll be able to figure things out." Shuto is at lost for words, left staring at the expression that Midoriya wears. "Afino. It's alright, you don't have to say anything now. There's still time. Just listen to yourself before you do others. Find who you are first, before you try to find who I am." Shudo nods wordlessly, because it's all he can manage. Midoriya smiles again. "Good. Now let's hope our classmates have processed things by now."